Welcome, Cash. We're going to call this study session to order at 5:31 p.m. Roll call, Mr. Domer. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Councilmember Crosby, Councilmember Kashavagita, Councilmember Johnson, Mayor Pro Tem Lau, Mayor Hepburn,
Present.
all present.
Hello over there. Welcome all of you here tonight and our meeting in which we will be conducting a study session on the landscaping and lighting districts. Extremely exciting. And I want to remind everyone that per the city's rules of decorum, all speakers, members of the audience and council members are to conduct themselves with decorum and to not engage in conduct that interrupts the orderly conduct of the study session. Which means, Christy, can you please behave yourself and Meg, please behave yourselves. Mr. Domer, can you please conduct the study session?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'd like to invite up Cody Howling, our city engineer, for tonight's study session on landscape and lighting maintenance districts.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Thank you for having me this evening. Yes, so as stated, we're going to be discussing landscape lighting maintenance districts in the city. The intent, get the clicker to work here. The intent, there we go. The intent of tonight is really just to give an overview. We will get into some numbers and details. These are snapshot numbers. There's not necessarily a presentation with specific requests or direction that we're asking from council. Certainly we can get into discussions if that's of interest to council, but yeah, it's really just a presentation on current status and where we look to make next steps towards addressing the LMDs. So here's an overview of what we're going to discuss tonight. What is an LLMD? Touch on the Landscape Lighting Act of 1972. Overview of existing LMDs, current budget details, and then we'll drill down into the further details on a few of them. And then, like I said, potential actions moving forward, something to discuss and consider for the future. So what is an LLMD? It's a Landscape Lighting Maintenance District. An LLMD is a subsect of what's called a special benefit district. Within the city of Laverne right now, we have 6 special benefit districts the city runs and maintains. Now, when I say 6 are in the city, that doesn't necessarily include all the other special benefit districts that are out there that might be on property tax bills of property owners. But there's 6 that are run through the city. There may be many more: vector control, sanitation. The list is long and lengthy, but those are also special benefit districts. So what is a special benefit district? Much like the title would probably indicate, it is a district that receives a special benefit. That benefit is something that is over and above what is well defined as the general benefit. Like I said, we've got 6 within the city. I'll highlight them in the Venn diagram. There's Municipal Improvement Act, that's 84-1M. That covers the slopes and drainage along Esperanza. We've got the Community Facilities Districts, 90-1, which covers a number of services in the San Paulo Business District. We've got CFD 11-1, which we had the pleasure of a few meetings ago going through that lengthy and complicated annexation process, but that is for fire services. And tonight, rounding out what we're really going to focus on is the Landscape Lighting Act districts. We got 6, District 6, District 7, and District 8. 3 total of those. Yes, District 6 has different zones, and we'll get into the details. But three big districts. Yep. So, Landscape Lighting Act of 1972. This was established as a vehicle or method to give authority to cities to derive revenue for certain services and improvements that the city can maintain. You'll find it in the sections of Streets and Highway Code, Division 15, from Section 22-500 to 22-679. Really getting into the meat and potatoes, what is covered under the Landscape Lighting Act. We've got a list here at the bottom of the slide. It's planting and landscaping, as the title would indicate. Statuary, fountains, and other ornamental structures and facilities. Public lighting facilities, other related facilities related to the above improvements. So, for example, if you had irrigation at the top of a hill and needed to pump that water to the top of the hill, it'd be pump stations, irrigation system, water mains. It could be access roads. It could be a number of different facilities, of course, ultimately tied to those aesthetic or, visually improving type features. But the list is long and wide if it's tied to those. And then park, those can be included as well as land acquisition activities related to parks and public facilities. So that's what we can do with the Landscape Lighting Act in 1972. Within the city, if you recall, I've mentioned there was 3 districts. So they're all highlighted throughout the city there. Apologize that the map on the background is a little light. But what you can see off to the left side, we've got District 6, Zone 4-1, up on the north side of the town. We've got District 6, Zone 3 is an infill project mid-town, just south of Foothill there. In District 6, Zone 5, that's the San Paulo district. We got District 6, Zone 6 and 2, other residential infill projects. And then, of course, District 8 up at the top and District 7 sandwiched between District 6, 4-2 and 4-1. So that's just generally where we're looking at. And this is also kind of an indication of, well, you know, the story of development within the city of Laverne. This obviously the old town area was first. We had various infill projects, but certainly the north part of town has been more in terms of overall city history recently under development. And that kind of coincides with when these revenue sources were created. Again, a little bit of history. You can look at down the dates. We got a parcel count. District 6 has a number of different zones within it. There's a total of 6. It doesn't start with Zone 1. Zone 1 is a citywide that has not been assessed in quite a while. But we do have 2. We got a 4-1 and a 4-2. Different District 7 and 8, you'll see they're all sort of in the 90s, early to mid 90s that these were created, again, coinciding with development within the city around that time. LLMD process details. Okay, so the landscape lighting maintenance district, these are separate districts that do generate revenue from the property that's located within those boundaries that have been established. That revenue stays within the district. That money does not move into the general fund. It does not move outside of the district. It's intended specifically to stay in that district for the explicit use of those benefits as defined when it was created. You can have different versions of landscape lighting maintenance district improvements. As I went through the list, you know, some areas may have statues and fountains, some may not, some may have fence, some may not. Some may have trees and turf, some may have just a hillside that needs to be managed. So it's really kind of a wide array of what you can do, and you cannot really effectively or quantitatively in a great way compare one district to another. They're individuals, and so when we get into the numbers, I'll also point that out. The process, staff brings this to City Council once a year, typically in the spring. Through requirements of the Landscape Lighting Act, we have to do a public hearing. It is a protest hearing process annually. The assessments that are levied against these properties, they're not taxes. It looks and smells like a tax, and residents are paying the government to do things that include improvements, but these are not taxes. These are assessments for benefits received. So it has no correlation with property value. For example, if you had 2 properties right next to each other, one was double the size as the other, but they were both assessed an equal share of benefit, they would both pay the same amount. Again, no property value correlation.
Cody,
Yes.
these are assessed and paid through property taxes.
Yes. So these do end up on the property tax bill, which I'm sure, and I know I got mine last week. Those are starting to hit the mailboxes. So you'll see when the assessor does the assessed value of the property, they apply the percentage. Typically it's 1%. And then the line items are below that. You have vector control, sanitation district. If you're in an LLMD, you'll see that. If you're in a CFD, you'll see that, and so on. So it is paid through the process of the LA County property tax roll. So that's why it looks and smells like a tax, but it's not technically a tax. So splitting hairs on that. But I just want to make sure that's clear. So yes. So yeah. So yes, sir.
Is it a tax?
No. Each year we bring the budget forward in the engineer's report, which is another aspect that's required through the Landscape Lighting Act. And in there, you'll see deficits and surpluses carried forward or applied as applicable. So it's a running balance, and that's something that's also kind of a facet to be aware of. And then the last bullet point there, it's a very important bullet point that I want to highlight is obviously these LMDs, these LLMD districts were created in correlation with a development project. When those projects were brought forth to the council, the understanding was that obviously this condition to be annexed or created into a district was intended for these districts to pay their way for their improvements. So if you see, and we'll get into looking at more visual aspects, I know it's a lot of words on this slide, but if you see certain improvements within those districts, it's funded by those that get the benefit of it. And that's the intent of
Cody,
why these are created. Yes.
I've got one more
Yes.
tax question.
Yes.
Taxes are deductible. Are these assessments in any way deductible by the homeowners?
I'm going to encourage him not to answer
Thank
that
you.
question on the grounds that he would be illegally practicing tax law. I think it's,
Our attorney,
well, I don't practice tax law either. So I think that that would be something they would need to discuss with their individual account.
Yes.
so we're not going to answer that.
I don't
or
think
get
we
an
can.
answer for that.
No, I'm
We're
sorry,
just going to assess it.
because we have to pay the cost of doing the work. Yeah.
Uh-oh, we're stuck. Thank you. Yeah, I'll just let you know. All right, so we're gonna get into the numbers now. So hold on tight. I'll try to get through this as quick as possible and just highlight things. So we've got specifically the sub zones within District 6. You'll see the zone lifted there. The next column to your right is the fiscal year 23-24 budget. The next column to your right after that is the assessment revenue again for 23-24. We've got the applied reserves, general fund loan, and I want to focus on this last column here for a minute. CPI escalation allowed. CPI is consumer price index. It's basically inflation, right? And it's a number that gets created, and it is regional. It's developed by the Bureau of Labor Statistics from the federal government. They issue it. It typically shows a year to year on a monthly basis. So if you see March 23 to March 24, you'll get that. You also see a month to month difference in that. So inflation is one of those things that as we've gotten the recent experience, it's jumped up quite a bit and continues to cause challenges across the board, from a tank of gas to a loaf of bread. So within these districts, this district's zones, you'll notice only zone 6 has the ability to inflate or increase the assessment based on the CPI escalation. However, that is capped at 3%. So there we go. That's working. All right, so it's the same table, but I'm highlighting a few things that you may have picked up on as we were looking at that on the previous slide. If you run down from top to bottom and you compare those two that are in the gold highlight, you'll notice the assessment revenue for all of them was, well, zone 5 is a little different. I'll talk about that. The assessment revenue for all of them is being outpaced by the budget. And so what we have is a situation where we either have to apply reserves or a general fund loan, which is that last column there. And you can see the general fund loan amount being applied for zone 3, zone 4-1, and zone 6. Zone 5 is a little different. We actually do have more room to run on the assessment before it gets maxed out. All the other zones are maxed out to the most that we can assess them. And so there's no more revenue to gain from those. They're sort of stuck. There is no CPI inflator and so on. Zone 5, we got a little bit more room, although, you know, it doesn't have a CPI inflator, so time will catch up. And that bottom bullet point, I just want to point out the general fund loan contribution for this fiscal year of 23-24 was $39,608. Yes. Yes, correct. Yeah, there is no more reserves to apply. If they had reserves, we would. And so faced with a situation of balancing the budget, that's where the general fund loan comes into play. So we'll get there. It will be a process. I think if you don't mind holding that question to the end, we'll get there. Okay, so we had two other LLMD districts within the city. We got District 7 and District 8. Again, you'll notice in the gold highlight there, the fourth table or fourth column to the right, applied reserves is being used to balance the budget. Both also have no CPI escalator. Moving on. Yeah, no, go ahead. Okay. Well, so yeah, there is an ebb and flow to assessment districts. Some years are not as expensive as others. There's capital improvement costs. Say there was a controller that needs to place for the irrigation. There was some a wind event, you know, that knocked down a bunch of trees that put something in that wasn't necessarily planned for. On this slide, though, really what this is showing you a 10-year snapshot is like, so how did we get here today? Where were we 10 years ago? Where are we today? This isn't necessarily intended to be a full-blown audit of all history, so we can get to those numbers eventually. I don't have those here tonight, but this is really just intended to be a snapshot to convey sort of the details, what's happening. So you notice between the fiscal year 13-14 and fiscal year 23-24, that fourth column to the right in the blue highlight identifies the percent change in budget. So 10 years, you'll see we've jumped from 39, 80s, mid 20s, 60. District 8's a little bit of an outlier, and that's why I said there's an ebb and a flow. That one's only bumped up 2%. But again, this is only a snapshot looking at those specific years. It's not analyzing 20 years, 30 years that these have been around. Yes. No. Assessment revenue. Again, I'm doing the same comparison between revenue versus where we were 10 years ago and where we are today. You know, with no CPI inflator, I think I've already kind of spoiled the ending on this, is there's no increase. This has been flat across 10 years, with exception to Zone 6, where we had that 3% CPI increase. Of course, these last few years, we've been encountering 7, 10%. We've been stuck at 3%. But the years prior, where inflation was steady in the 2-ish% range, we were able to, you know, get something. But looking 10 years to year, it's a 25% jump compared to a 61% jump on the budget. So needless to say, we've got some limitations. So the next question that you might all be thinking is, well, what's the future? So obviously Zone 6.3, Zone 4-1, and Zone 6.6, time is out. We are in a situation where general funds are being used. The remainder of those zones that were not listed have reserves, but again, aside from the one that's got the inflator, but even though it's at 0, we've got some time to burn against those reserves. However, this is only intended to convey maybe an order of priority into addressing these issues. This does not include any of those capital replacements, any of those year-to-year expenses. This is purely taking what the reserve is right now and the use of that reserve to balance the budget this fiscal year and dividing that into that. So I did a little bit of approximation to kind of round out the numbers and get what I think is a better number, but really, you know, any one of these could be in trouble, you know, like a Zone 6-5, if some catastrophic occurrence happened to the budget, it could accelerate that, or it could also decelerate and slow it down. So really, this is just kind of context when you compare those to each other of, you know, you look at District 7 and District 6 4-2, those might be on the next round after these 3 that are in red we take a look at.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, as you know, from our own budget, we wouldn't want to be using our reserves for operational. And that's exactly what we've been doing for a while on this. And so you want to have a reserve policy created that allows for those one-time issues, some type of disaster, failure of equipment or anything like that. So, provided direction, we will come back to you at a later date with reserve policies and additional information based on the information that Cody is providing to you tonight.
Yes.
Hit that mic. Can you hear me now? Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Doesn't that looks like that might be in District 5, which is not, that's, sorry, strike that. District 3, that would be right there where North Laverne, that's where Fire Station 3 would be. Doesn't that border the county area? And if so, is there something that we could get assistance on through the county since it borders the county property for any lighting or landscaping
You know,
there?
these are set up as individual districts and we'll get into the exact locations because I was anticipating that question. So I've
Gotcha.
got pictures and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
because
We're
that's also,
through the numbers, guys. We're through the numbers. So
oh, I love that. But that also is because I suffer from short-term memory loss. So I just want to make sure that I forgot what I was saying, but right there where the reservoir is. So that
Yeah.
area looks like is all metropolitan water.
that's part of one of the LMDs. Yeah.
Okay. So is that maybe something we can reach out to Metropolitan Water District?
No, because Metropolitan Water District it's a different agency. This was set up specifically for the benefit of the property owners.
Okay.
So I won't speak for Metropolitan Water, but I would say I would not put a whole lot of weight into the likelihood of that panning out for them to share money with us.
Okay.
We could ask nicely though.
Oh, I
but
mean,
don't
yeah,
think it'll
since
be
it's in there,
successful.
it borders everything between the county and the metropolitan. And since we have 3 Valley Water District, maybe that's something we could ask them. Food for thought.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Okay. Thank you so much.
Just real
I care. I care. Just trying to save a little
real
money.
quick before, and I may have missed it. Now, why is the CPI only applied to one and not to the others? And is there a way to get CPI applied to the others? Or is that
Yes,
a lost cause?
there is a way. If you don't mind, I'll get to that one.
Oh,
at
come
the
on,
end.
Cody.
No, bring the questions, please. I want to make sure that, yeah, but.
Come on, Joe.
All right, so we'll run through these real quick. So what I've done here, the next few slides is highlighted the particular LMD zones that are at the 0 level and using the general fund loan to balance their budget. So that way we can kind of put real kind of visual references to what, and where, and what's going on there. Why do we have these issues? So District 6, Zone 3, this is what I like to call the Tabor tract. It's up there. It's Zone 3. It's comprised of tract map number 35405. It's got 34 parcels in it. The current annual assessment, again, this is maxed out, so this has been the annual assessment for a number of years, is $99.59 per parcel. And that's an annual assessment per year. The general fund loan, again, just repeating what we've mentioned, is it's $4,700 and change on the annual basis. So here's some actual, and this didn't quite come out as good as I'd hoped to on the right side, but you can kind of see what exactly are we even maintaining with this. So it's really, in this one, it's the frontage. You'll see that we've got Wheeler running there north-south. This is located just south of Foothill. The Del Taco to the north. We've got the MWD Weymouth plant to the south there. And so this covers the frontage, the trees, the lawn, the shrubs, the irrigation. That's what we've got in this one. And here's a snapshot of the engineer's report of the actual line item of budgets. You can just look down and see, well, how do you spend $8,100 a year on that green belt there? We got $600 in staff time, but you'll notice the big line items are contractual maintenance and of course, water and utilities, which, you know, is a limited control of what we've got over that. So that gets us to $8,100. To summarize real quick, we've got 34 parcels. They're currently paying $99 and change. We've got a gap between revenue and budget. To close that gap, and I want to make sure we're clear on this, this is just a snapshot number. This is just this year, is $138.94 per parcel. So if you ask me, what would it take? Yes, per parcel. It's broken down per parcel. So yes. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. No. So if that would be, you know, hey, how much more does everybody have to contribute to balance the budget? And that would be the individual parcels contribution over and above the current maximum assessment. Again, no CPI on this one.
And that would be the annual assessment?
For fiscal year 23-24, that would just be the annual assessment, not paying any deficits, not putting away reserves, not planning for the future. That just it's the month or the paycheck to paycheck type approach. So LLMD District 6, 4-1. This is a much larger district. This is north of Baseline, east of Wheeler. It runs quite far north, all the way up to Birdie, I believe, is really the north end of this one. This has got 540 parcels. The annual budget's 141,000. I'm sorry, where is the annual budget? That's on the next slide, sorry. This annual assessment is $141.85.
Hmm.
This one's a little different from the two. There's one more that we're going to talk about. Doesn't have the frontage necessarily. It's got Via Rancho Laverne, which is sort of a beltway boulevard that runs up to the spine. It also has riparian areas, so creek daylights there and runs through there. I want to highlight that there's 3 parks within this district. We've got Heritage Park, we've got Mills Park, and Oak Mesa. Did I write that down? I think that's Oak Mesa up there. Yep, Oak Mesa right in the middle. Those parks are not covered by the LMD. So just want to highlight that. They could be, but they're not.
The housing does not pay for the park, the city. pays for
Yes,
park.
the parks is a general benefit. The housing covers the beltway that all those residents probably drive by on their way in and out. They have the riparian area that they can enjoy and this backs up against their properties as well.
Isn't Mills Park more to the west of Wheeler?
Mills Park is have a laser pointer.
Yeah, but
doesn't.
according to that,
Oh.
it wasn't in the district.
There's
wrong, Cole?
Mills
Right up
Park
there.
right there. It is.
It
It's
adds
right
it,
on the
or-
edge.
That's that
Yeah.
corner.
In fact, I don't know if you can see it. There is a small spot right there that is actually maintained. It's a little,
I'm looking at
I don't know if you want to call it a pocket park, but some frontage that is there.
this. Got it. Oh, okay, because there's Wheeler. Okay.
So we've got the visual reference of pictures. Again, what is it that we're doing? This is the picture to the right is a street view looking north on Via Rancho Laverne. You can see that beltway of the green
There
space
we
on
go.
both
That's it.
sides. And everything else is highlighted there for you. Here's the budget. Again, we'll cut to the chase. It's $110,000 on the annual basis. You'll notice utilities at $45,000 and contractual maintenance that adds up to $50,000 is a big chunk of what it takes to maintain that district and zone. Here's that summary spreadsheet. I'm going to get a little repetitive. You're going to see this format over and over again. 540 parcels. The gap in budget versus revenue, if you take it down to a per parcel basis, we're looking at $61.86 as the difference there is what would be the gap to close those budgets for this year.
Sorry, Cody.
Just-
And it says max assessment. Does that mean some people might not pay the max assessment?
That is a great question. Okay, so that is the max assessment, as in I can't recommend anything more than that. We can go lower though. However, since this is running in a deficit, I would not be willing to recommend that to council that we assess less than that. If this zone, let's say, and that's a perfect question to highlight the difference between this zone and District 6-5 or District 6, Zone 5. Zone 5 has more room to run on the max assessment. So we're not assessing the max assessment because right now, between the cost and the reserves, we're balancing the budget. And there's a important distinction there. We have reserves and I'm obligated to return them. We can't just build piles of money into perpetuity. We have to manage it in a meaningful and effective way. So I could run it more and I could balance the budget just in the assessments, but I have to return reserves in that one. So that one's probably one of the better situations of these. LLMD District 6, Zone 6. So this is the development right up the street here, right on the corner of Fruit and Amherst. Again, we've got 30 parcels. The per parcel assessment's $301.39. And I want to circle back to one of the things I said is you'll notice this is one of the higher assessments. And when you look at the frontage, well, it's not that much. You know, one of the components that plays into the cost is the spread. So if you have a big cost and a lot of parcels, you take that big number and divide it by a big number. If you have a cost and have a fewer parcels, you can see the trend there. The per parcel breakdown sometimes can jump up, even though it looks like they're getting, I don't want to say getting less, but they're covering less. So here's a aerial shot. You can see the frontage. You can see again on the right the street view. It's that slope there that we all probably drive by pretty often, I would imagine. District 6, Zone 6. Here's the budget breakdown. Again, highlighting the big costs here, contractual maintenance and utilities. That rounds us out to, with the other costs getting up to $10,520 on the annual basis. Here's that slide again. So right now we're generating $9,000 in revenue. We've got 30 parcels. And so the difference in the gap to bring that revenue to match the budget just for fiscal year 23-24 would be $49.29, 27 cents, excuse me. And this is one that does have the CPI, and I'll get to your question. But it's capped at 3%. So, you know, with what we experienced these last few years post-COVID with CPI jumping up quite a bit, you know, historically it's not an unfound number, but at least in recent times it is. That has further hastened or expedited the degradation of revenue to budget here. So,
Cody, excuse me, were
yes.
we charging that 3%?
excuse me,
Were we increasing that to 3%?
where we can. So it's capped at the
Well, it's capped, but
CPI,
were we
but we can't
capturing that along the
exceed.
way?
Yes, we have been. I can't speak for all time, but I know for at least as far as I can go back on, we have been assigning an increase based on the CPI. So if inflation's 1.5%, we only get 1.5%. We can't go to 3. It's tight. Yeah. So.
I know we talked about 3, 4-1, and 6. How far away are we to be reaching the maximum on 2, 4-2, and 5 on their zones?
Good question. So zone 6, 5. Well, you're going to make me pull out the engineer's report now. Here we go. All right. And then I will answer Mayor Pro Tem's question because I know she's got it. That's the next slide.
And Mr. Mayor, while he's looking for that information, just want to also bring up, we're still facing a lot of things from the state. So AB 1572 is on the governor's desk right now. More than likely, it's going to be signed into law by the governor. Basically, what that does is it prohibits the use of potable water on non-functional turf. A lot of what you see here is non-functional turf. So functional turf would be where you're playing soccer or doing something. But these are all medians and other things like that, landscaping areas. So that's a major concern here because I don't know what the implementation of that assembly bill is, but we would have to somehow redo our systems to have, recycled water or go through the cost of tearing out the landscaping and placing it in, which is a costly endeavor in itself. So those are a lot of things that we're kind of facing that, it'd be great to have reserves, but you see we're using them for operational costs.
So now, because I had that written down, is that something that we're looking to do, the non-functional grass on the side of medians, to change that to like drought tolerant, maybe plants, or add more Japanese cherry blossoms?
Yeah, so we'll
but-
find out within the next 14 days or so, if the governor signs it, 12 days or so, if he signs that piece. But that is a discussion we'll have to bring back to the council because it's going to cost money.
Initially cost money, but later down the line, it will be.
It could save, yeah. So it could, initial costs, cover the costs with the assessments, and then eventually see the assessments go down because it's the zero-scape type thing. So.
Yeah.
So why aren't we going to either low maintenance or no maintenance type of turf?
Excellent question. I think you're competing now with Councilmember Crosby. So
Good question.
yes, that is a good question.
So the one thing,
Keep
okay.
going.
So the one thing I would add to Mr. Johnson's question is a capital costs, right? And so with no budget or, general fund backfilling the gap, it is a decision to be made and something to look at. Return on investment. How long is it going to take to break even and so on? So potential options going forward. So this is, very simple. We've got the first bullet point, which is basically a do nothing or status quo. Absolutely, we can continue to do what we're doing. There's nothing within the code that prohibits the city from contributing general funds to cover the gap. I will say, actually, let me save that for the next slide. We could cut services to align with the assessment revenue. So if we have, figuratively speaking, $100, we're only spend $100. Whether that gets us is another thing to analyze and assess and figure out if that's something that's workable. And the last bullet point, which I'm finally getting to Mayor Pro Tem's question here, is we can take a look at analyzing the zone costs and developing a proposed assessment increase, also including a CPI escalator. But the way to do that is we'd have to go through a Prop 218 ballot process. So we cannot just simply dictate that the cost is now Y when it was formerly X. We have to go to the ballot. One of the things, and I didn't necessarily highlight it, but you might recall, if you were, Landscape Lighting Act 1972 was signed back in 1972. A lot of these developments were created in early to mid 90s. I think 95 was the newest. Prop 218, which I'll get to it, was signed into place in 97. I went into effect, I think, in 98. So the rules were kind of changed a little bit. I'm not going to say Prop 218 is a bad thing. As a taxpayer, I can appreciate it, but it does make life difficult to manage things.
Is that a majority or a simple majority?
I'm 2 slides away from getting
Sorry.
there. No worries. We'll bring it. It's a great question there. I'm logging them. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the next few slides, I'm going to just further expand on those 3 points. Continued use of general fund. Okay, so we looked at it. There was one that had CPI inflator. Obviously, it was substantial to keep us going. I will say I have firsthand knowledge of many cities and agencies with similar districts that have unlimited CPI. So they were raising it 7% last year. They were raising it 10% the prior year. They're still underwater. They're not able to keep up. CPI is an aggregate number. It doesn't necessarily keep up with all the features. We've got prevailing wage rules that have changed over the years. We've got fuel, we've got regional other issues. So when you look at what creates a CPI, there's a lot of big numbers and there's a lot of small numbers. And so CPI is some version of a weighted average out of that. So it's not a silver bullet, if you will, to use a Halloween type analogy to solve our issues. But anyways, to round out what I'm trying to make a point on this one is we can continue to do it, but I want to highlight to council that costs will continue to grow. So it won't be capped at $39,000 an annual basis. We'll continue to grow as costs grow. And as costs grow, so will the other districts continue to fall into a similar situation of not having adequate revenue generated from the assessments to cover those costs. So something to think about, certainly decisions to mull over and make. We could cut services. So yeah, of course, we can also cut services. That's something we're allowed to do. We don't necessarily have to maintain it. There's been a number of situations in history where LMDs or like benefit districts have been disbanded completely. I'm not advocating for that. That's something we can look at and discuss. But one of the highlights that I want to bring to council's attention is if we say turn off the water, for example, as an easy one, those are big costs. That would obviously result in the loss of plant material. If we let certain facilities continue to degrade and not maintain them, defer maintenance, at some point there's a tipping point that those are not, you can't return those back in a cost-effective manner. And now we're talking about full replacement. So cost-saving options might also commit to a semi-permanent future. You know, you can't necessarily take something back cost-effectively if we go down that path. And of course, the Prop 218 process. So like I mentioned, Prop 218 was adopted in the state code in 1997. It does add restrictions to local agencies and the ability to increase special assessment rates. We would have to go through a Prop 218 process for any increase over and above a CPI adjustment if we had a CPI adjustment. So zone 6-6, we don't have to do it. Each year when we raise it by the 1.5 to 3 or whatever the number is, that one's fine. But if we were to add a CPI adjustment to it, which I would recommend when we get to the analysis and bring that back to council, adding that CPI is a Prop 218 process. Mayor, this is your question right here. The ballot process is a simple majority. So if you had, for example, of returned ballots, so if you had 100 parcels and we put it out to a ballot and we got 10 back. It's an abysmal number, but we got 10 back. They would need to have 6 vote no. It is a protest. If 5 voted no, then the increase would pass. 6, it fails. Simple majority. Noticing period. So as we embark down this path, if we choose to go there, it would be a 45-day notice. These are mail ballots, so it would follow a very similar format to what we did with the CFD 11-1 annexation. The ballot process, just to highlight, is not a special election. It is a special process tied to Prop 218. So next steps, where are we going from here? So at this point, council staff, Director McWade, myself, other public works staff will be reviewing and analyzing our current status, certainly the budgets, but what is it going to take to maintain those zones? Where can we cut costs? What can we not cut? What do we think is going to be something that we can bring back to council and get some further direction and feedback? So we're going to run through a few scenarios, and from there, there's infinite numbers of ways that we can break this down. Prop 218 ballot process does cost money. I am optimistic and hopeful that one would pass, but I also would want to make sure that in full transparency to council is they do often come up with a lot of resistance, because voting to increase your not taxes but special benefits is it's a hard ask. So something to consider. And so next round of public hearings for next fiscal year will be brought back to council in spring of 2024. Although we don't have a date for when we will be back, it's something that we intend to bring back to council sometime before then, so we can have adequate time to discuss, analyze, mull over, and of course, meet any noticing periods if we so choose to go down that direction. So that concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
I think we've all, I'd like to open up public comment, I think, and then come back to the dais. That would work. Let's go ahead and open up public comments. Anybody wish to speak on this issue? Mr. Henley, come on up to the podium.
Just a quick question. You mentioned something about the sprinklers and stuff like this in the water.
And your name is Bill Henley, and where do you live?
Bill Henley, 4315 St. Mark Avenue, Laverne, California.
Thank you, Mr. Henley.
You're welcome. What type of sprinkler system do you have? It's just a question. Or? So
Why don't we get that question out, and then we'll
Okay.
come back once we
That's
close
fine.
public comment, and he can answer the
there,
question.
there are just, this doesn't have anything to do with me or what it's just Air Troil and any number of different companies make a system that will compensate for the moisture in the air. I think that if you look that up and found out what systems were, city's going to save a lot of money on water. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Henley. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, my gosh. Just a minute, I gotta go outside. With that, we'll, we have boots. With that, we're gonna close public comment and bring up the dais. Mr. Howling, would you like to, I know that our Public Works has got a myriad of controllers that are all monitored, actually globally now, aren't they? But anyway, go ahead.
So I think we've got a wide array of irrigation systems. I wouldn't be comfortable in saying that we've gone all completely to drip, and I wouldn't also be comfortable in saying that we haven't switched some over to drip. But drip is sort of the standard of practice now for water conserving, aspects. And what we want to do is obviously from an environmental and water conservation, maintain that, but the bottom line counts too in saving costs. The controllers mentioned, yes, there are some very advanced controllers out there. Extremely, you would be shocked at how much you can spend on a silver box on the side of the road. But they're very interconnected and they're very smart. But again, it's that capital improvement discussion. It's certainly a component to think about it. What's it, 15 grand, the cheapest on the high end, and I've done projects where they're 50 grand, not in the city.
And we have what,
but
19 parks? How many parks? 20?
I don't know that off the top.
But I would also like to mention, because part of what he was speaking about is kind of irrigation that looks at the actual weather-based patterns. There have been some agencies that employed that technology and then realized it was watering more because the turf wanted more or the plants wanted more. And they actually ended up dialing it back, even though it affects a little bit the plant health, just because the cost of the irrigation was actually responsive to the weather patterns. So it's always that magic balance of the two.
Thank you. You took his? Okay, do we have any questions or comments or just, my biggest thing, I've been on council since 2015 and they used to bring these up all the time, every year. And they used to go into reserves and dip here and there. And the question is, why are we here now? We really should have been adjusting these many, many years ago to do this, to make sure that we weren't in a negative. You know, reserve is exactly what it means. It's a reserve like an HOA. You reserve to put your streets in or to do modifications or improvements, fencing, things like that, irrigation. We're here now, so it really doesn't matter why. It's just, it's a little bit on the frustrating side for me, knowing that I've been looking at these districts for a long time, but there was no direction at the time to say, hey, we're going to run out of money here. And you could see it on some of those because we were dipping into the reserves and yet, but you couldn't go beyond. And then we had to give money back if it was too much after a certain amount of time, which to me is just ludicrous. But I understand that's how the districts were laid out. But I mean, we really don't have a lot of choices here. I mean, like Councilmember Johnson's like putting turf in and stuff. It's a problem with that is that it's a very good idea for long-term. Problem is we're faced with a deficit right now. We can't be dumping money on it because we're in general fund. I mean,
But that's what we're doing.
that's what we're doing. I know, which we shouldn't be
Using
doing.
General fund money.
Well, and
But
As a,
no, it's
no, as a point of clarification, because I'm looking at, and these slides aren't numbered, but it's the estimated reserve fund projections. It says that the current levy is at the max that we're allowed to tax, well, not to tax, because it's not a
not
tax,
a tax.
to assess,
The
except for
CPI.
one district. So I don't know historically, has that been the case that we have maxed out? Because I thought that was, to your point, I think they have done everything that they could to get as much money, but without a CPI and without any other.
Without any
adjustments,
changes
we're-
either to change the format that we were going
Yeah.
to be in the airs because as we know, as you stated, the costs have gone skyrocketed
Yes.
between labor alone.
Yeah.
And then alone the parts, gas, fuel,
Right.
equipment, and aging systems that break all the time. I mean, irrigation breaks all the time. I mean, it's just, you know. Mr. Crosby.
Yes, I believe that we really do need to go through, but I believe the Proposition 218 process is not going to be a favorable process either, because if it's mail-in ballots and they send them back, people that are going to send them back are the no's. Because they're going to be upset. Now, there might be a few that say yes, but I'm saying let's not try that, but we still have to, if we try to do that later on, not saying we're proposing that right now either, but if that does come back in a negative way, we have to think about what is the alternatives as well.
I think we have to have some alternatives.
Yes.
Before the ballot goes out. Do we want to keep the maintenance the way it is now? If so, we need to increase this assessment. If not, we'll put in DG and artificial turf and then let it go from there.
But the cost of that,
There is an upfront cost to that.
huge.
But look what we're doing though currently.
No.
I mean, we're getting nailed by the general fund's getting nailed because the revenue's not there. You know, we can take out the turf or whatever landscaping is there, let it go more natural, something that's drought tolerant, whether it's artificial turf or just a DG or something.
But-
if the impetus isn't there to fund what we're doing, then we got to stop it.
I believe that as well, but moving just to drought tolerant or to artificial turf, as one person that just put it in their backyard only a few years ago, the cost savings to get it back is like 15 years. So the over expensive cost to even put it in is way over than what we're losing right now, but we're in a no-win situation here, like you said. And I do agree that we have to make changes.
And I'm with you. I just don't want to kick the can down the road. And, Mayor was saying you've been here since 2015, have been dealing with this issue. So, if we could come up with several solutions or ideas that we can fix this now rather than kick it down the road, or however it's drought tolerant plants, whatever the case might be. I think, long term, you mentioned that in 15 years and, be 50 years or 100 years, I'm not going to be alive and, but the city will, it's going to go on. So as you can see, since 1906, it's been here. And that's just something that we need to go. How do I look? I moisturize a lot. So thank you. Thank you so much. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
So I think, from my perspective, I think the viewpoint would be, come back to us with what the different costs are. And I wouldn't say it's strictly in those 3 categories, right? It might be a combination of how are we reducing costs? And then what are the options for trying to get the assessments higher, right? But I also think whatever we're doing, especially if we are going to go the Prop 218 route in any measure, there has to be communication to the public, because I think to Councilmember Crosby's point is, if I just got something in the mail that said, by the way, we'd like to charge you an additional $50 a parcel, whatever, I'd be like, my immediate response is like, no, right? But if you explain to me, if you like what you see outside of your house, and this is the environment in the neighborhood that you like, and you want to keep it this way, this is what it's going to cost. And so I think there has to be an explanation of that that's very clear, so that people can make an informed decision. And then on that point, I just want to clarify. So in your example, if there's 100 parcels, it's not that 100 ballots or a majority of the ballots have to come back. It's whatever comes
Sure.
back is a simple majority of
Yes.
the ones that come back. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
thank you.
So I think Mr. Crosby mentioned it's sort of by design that Prop 218 is significant hurdle to clear.
So basically, as Mayor Pro Tem Lau stated, and basically all of us, it's just the fact that we need to figure out a way to fund this. And so you need to come back and figure out how we're going to do that. Now, if we were to go through an increase, do we have to go, if we're to do the CPI, we have to go to Prop 218.
Yes,
If we don't do a CPI adjustment, we go just a straight assessment increase.
still have to do the
Still
Prop
have to do
218.
That
So if
doesn't
you're going to do it, I would
Doesn't
recommend
matter.
we try to do it right.
Yeah, you might, if you're going to do it, we do the CPI with it then.
And like I said, there's other districts that I have firsthand involvement in that have unlimited CPIs and they're still failing. So just because we fix the problem now doesn't mean that it won't be a prod in 100 years. It might come back. Hopefully it's 100 years and not 10. But we certainly want to bring back something that will be effective and have a reasonable longevity for council to consider.
Well, and then I don't want to come back every 2 years.
Neither
We
do
want
I.
to do this once. Yeah, because this is, like I say, this has been an issue for me and really never was addressed. Now we're addressing it at DEFCON 5, where all of a sudden we've got 3 areas. One that's 81% beyond its budget, which is just, I'm sorry, that's ludicrous. You have another one, 61% and then 37%. The other ones are going to fall in place right after that
Mhm.
too.
They will.
So.
Yeah.
Mr. Gilmer.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I want to reiterate that point there, but also what Cody is saying about, what we want to bring back to you is something that is sustainable for the long term. So, it wouldn't be to keep the turf, especially when we're looking at, state legislation, which is saying you're not going to keep the turf. So we're going to have to look at different things that are out there, bring you back options, bring you back landscape plans, do some community meetings, get with the folks who are out there, who are driving by it, who are walking by it because it's within their neighborhood, to get their input on that. So it is an elaborate process, but that's what we want to do, because as you see with these numbers, it's critical and we don't want it to go more critical.
Well, and I think too, as Council or Mayor Pro Tem Lau said, transparency. Let's get it out there, because this is going to affect these people's turfs, their areas, the common areas. We've got parks, we've got some of these, especially that one center, huge area that if we do anything, it's going to affect everyone. So we need to let everybody know what we're looking at, what the costs are going to be. And obviously we need to increase the rates, but they're going to have to be the ones that say, this is why, this is the reason. If you don't want no, if you say no, then guess what? This is what we're going to have to do, because we can't afford, staying on this path. So.
And I'll go just as far and say is this area is not within the tracks. They're on the frontages. They are the
thing
beauty
you see.
of Laverne
Mhm.
rather than in the homes track in the homes too. So it's not, it's all the residents going, driving down and seeing that as
Yep.
well.
This is kind of out, and especially the ones on Wheeler Avenue that are right there in front of you. So,
Mhm.
okay.
Just go, no. Just one last question for Mr. Domer. I know that there was a professor, I think, that had students that were assessing the types of landscaping and whatnot. And so I know that they were looking at a heat index and so I don't know if they were doing a similar study with regard to drought or drought tolerant plants, or what would be the best use. So if we are looking at something where we are replacing, what are those options? I just wanted to put that back on your
Absolutely.
memory, in your memory bank. So
I told him the study was very scientific and I'd need a summary, but it was with the spacing of the soma cells or something, and all these. It was, yeah.
You're
But
way
no, I
out
think
there now.
partnership with ULV and the resource that they have would be very, very helpful in this regard, because we can be their laboratory. And that's what they've done on some other things, including those studies that I cannot recite.
Well, I think also too that, this is the point too. Our governor keeps pushing down stuff for us to implement. And the problem is there's no money behind it. And if we're really going to do an infrastructure, we need to think about recycled water. That will cure a big portion of our problem. The problem with recycled water systems, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's an astronomical, but it can be done, but our higher electeds have to give us a big note of money in order to even think about it.
And that landscape is ever changing these days. Water rights everywhere.
So, well, yeah.
I was gonna add one last thing, just in regards to money, to see if we can find a way if we get some of the grants. I know the state grants were, I don't know if it's still in effect, but they're giving out to communities or, individual citizens that they have, if they change certain parts of the area. If we could look into that as well, please. Definitely look at that. Thank you.
So direction is come back to us with some ideas and some multiple ideas, actually.
I'll bring back as many as you'd like.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Howling. With that, we're going to adjourn and take like a 4-minute recess, and we'll be back for our regular meeting. Thank you. 6:37. We're going to call this meeting to order at 6:37 PM on Monday. Can you believe it's October? My goodness. Halloween, though, that's fun. So anyway, we're going to start tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. We're very pleased to have once again one of our proud veterans, Matthew Jackson, Army National Guard, Major conduct. Excuse me, guys. I think I'm going to read this now. Let's give a little bio on this wonderful man here. Army National Guard, Major Matt Jackson, Combined Arms Aviation Officer and UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter pilot and 2002 graduate of the University of Laverne, where he played both football and baseball from 1998 to 2002. Round of applause for that one, guys. Come on. Matt is a 25-year veteran of the U.S. Army, California Army National Guard, including 3 overseas deployments to the Middle East in support of the global war on terror. Operations Iraqi Freedom, New Dawn, Spartan Shield, and Inherent Resolve, as well as multiple stateside emergencies in support of Cal OES and Cal Fire. Matt's awards and decorations include the Senior Army Aviator Badge, 4 Meritorious Service Medals, the Air Medal, 2 Army Commendation Medals, 2 Army Achievement Medals, Humanitarian Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, and Iraq Campaign Medal with Bronze Star. Matt is a life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars VFW Anaheim Post 3173. Matt is a lifelong resident of the city of Orange, lives with his wife of 17 years, Amy, and their 3 children, Jared 16, Charlie 14, and Sonia 8. Matt continues to work on active duty full-time for the California Army National Guard at Joint Forces Training Base, Los Alamitos, as the full-time battalion officer in charge of the 140th Assault Helicopter Battalion. Matt will be retiring from the Army this coming April after 26 years of service. I think I stand on that one. Major Jackson, come on up if you'd lead us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that warm introduction. Really appreciate it.
Welcome to our house.
Thank you. It's good to be back in Laverne. Thank you for already standing. Please, all veterans, current service members, first responders, and law enforcement officers, please render a hand salute and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
General officer, right? As a fellow general officer and prior enlisted, most of you don't know that also Major Jackson is also a prior enlisted, just like me. So I know how that goes really very well. And one thing I also want to thank your family. a lovely spouse and kids. I know that when we serve and we leave we leave our spouse behind to take on the house, all the chores and everything else. And as a city, I wanted to thank you. And as a country, we appreciate your service as well. That is not forgotten. That is not forgotten at all. I know what's it like. I know what's it like to call home from overseas and just want you to know we're okay. I know that, brother. I know that very well. So God bless you and the family. And I wish you nothing but the best in retirement. Another story I shared with Major Jackson is that when he commissioned, he gave his salute to his father. And that is something that I'm looking forward to so much. And only you know that feeling. I'm looking forward to seeing that feeling when I salute my son, or he's gonna have to salute me. He's gonna have to salute me, right? As general officer, and then I can retire. So that was an amazing opportunity to have with your father. God bless you in the future. Continue to do good and stay Army strong, brother. The City of Laverne certificate of recognition presented to Matthew Jackson. This certificate is presented on behalf of the Laverne City Council to Army National Guard Major Matthew Jackson with sincere gratitude and appreciation for your dedicated service to our country. God bless you and God bless your family, sir. Oh.
See you, brother. Well, I guess we could do roll call while we're here, right? Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you again for serving. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Thank you.
All right, roll call will be Councilmember Crosby.
Here.
Councilmember Kashmagita.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lau. Mayor Hepburn.
Here. With that, tonight we have two presentations. First is a presentation recognizing 13-year-old Kennedy, Kenadie Kelly, for her. I love that. I'm just telling you, I know it's hard to get placards from Disneyland with that on it, but you know, you have to talk to your mom about that. So for her donations and community service and helping the Laverne Canine Foundation and other animal shelters. Kennedy, come on up. You guys can come over here too. Come on. Let's go. So I saw trying to not embarrass you, but thank you for what you've done. So this is an embarrassment. We're really appreciative of what you've done. Kennedy Kelly is a 13-year-old student at Ramona Middle School who is being honored for her dedicated service to our four-legged friends. Over the last 4 to 5 years, Kennedy has donated proceeds from her Girl Scout cookie money to local shelters in Laverne and neighboring cities. She additionally creates bookmarks, sea glass jewelry, providing 100% of her sales to shelters. Kennedy has donated over $5,000 in the past few years to various shelters and recently donated $250 to the Laverne Canine Police Foundation. Congratulations. Oh, good. City of Laverne certificate of recognition presented to Kennedy Kelly The certificate is presented on behalf of the Laverne City Council. Thank you for serving our community with donations to local animal shelters and the Laverne Canine Foundation. Your generosity inspires us all. Thank you very much. And this is for you. And this is yours. $30 minutes. Thank you very much. Congratulations, and thank you again. Oh, you guys want to get a picture? Yeah. Come on, get him. Come on. She'll get a picture. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Chief, did you want to say something? Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Heritage Park.
Oh, you're gonna be at the Heritage Park on the fair day for the fair?
This Saturday.
Oh, the fall fair. Very good. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay. Myself. Thank you. Someone's gonna watch. Now we move to our second presentation by Holly Savage, the Holly Savage, Laverne Police Community Services Supervisor on their Pink Patch Project. Please join us, Holly.
I'm not used to being on this side. This is very weird.
Like it.
All right. So I have a little slideshow that's going to go with it. Oh, this one. Awkward. All right, so good evening, Mayor, council members, and city manager. As you know, October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm here to talk about the Pink Patch Project. This initiative is a vital part of our community, aiming to raise awareness, support, and more importantly, funds for breast cancer research. The Pink Patch Project represents a partnership between law enforcement agencies and the communities that they serve. Throughout October, officers will have the option to wear a specially designed pink patch to remind everyone of the importance of regular self-checks, annual mammograms, and early detection, which can save lives. All right, so in the United States, breast cancer stands as the most prevalent cancer among women. In 2022, approximately 287,850 new cases of invasive breast cancer were diagnosed. It's estimated that this number will rise in 2023 to 297,790. 1 in 8 women will face invasive breast cancer in their lifetime. However, it's important to remember that these are not statistics. These are not just figures. They represent individuals with faces and names. They are our mothers, our sisters, daughters, friends, and community members. Many of our residents, friends, and families have been directly impacted by this horrific disease. So in 2015, then Chief of the Irwindale Police Department, Tony Miranda, sat in his office having a conversation with his records clerk, Norma. Norma was explaining to him her own mother's struggle with breast cancer. Chief Miranda felt compelled to act. He wanted to help. He remembered that in 2013, the Seal Beach Department had created a pink version of their patrol patch and sold it to raise money for breast cancer. That year, he took that idea to the LA County Chiefs Association and proposed the Pink Patch Project. That year, 25 agencies joined him in that initiative, raising over $20,000 for the City of Hope, the founding beneficiary of the project. What started as a grassroots effort in Irwindale in 2015 has now grown to encompass over 886 agencies across the United States and Europe who will proudly participate in 2023. The $20,000 that was donated to the City of Hope in 2015 has increased exponentially, with $255,000 donated in 2021. The project itself has seen over 900,000 patches sold, with over $1,655,000 donated to various organizations across the United States and Europe. So in 2016, the Laverne Police Department, under the leadership of then Chief Scott Pickwith, joined the project and introduced a pink version of our current patrol patch. Over the years, our pink patch features have included a throwback to our 1951 patrol patch in 2017. In 2018, we featured the Pride of Laverne Roses. In 2019, we featured the artwork that's on the side of the Coles building. We'd like to thanks to the support and donations from our incredible community members, we have raised $24,536.93 for breast cancer research at the City of Hope since our participation began. Here are just a few of our photos from highlights from the kickoff photo shoots, check presentations, and some of the events that we've participated in. Lost it there, sorry. So we encourage everyone to get involved in the Pink Patch Project, and you can show your support by purchasing pink patches or pink patch merchandise. Patches are available at the Public Safety Building Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. They're $10 each, and we take cash only, sorry. You can also participate by attending one of our upcoming fundraisers. This year, we have partnered with 3 of our restaurants, Red Devil, Mi Ranchito, and Panera. I've included flyers for each of these events. They're on the table over there. And then they'll also be on our social media. With each of the events, you do have to show the flyer, so you can either have the physical flyer or the digital image on our social media. And we encourage you to spread awareness to your loved ones. Encourage them to undergo screening, as it could save a life. Together, we can truly make a difference. And lastly, I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude to Acting Chief Gonzalez, Chief Flores, and retired Chiefs Paz and Pickwick for their unwavering support in our ongoing participation in the project. And thank you to the countless community members who have attended our fundraisers and purchased our patches and merchandise year after year. We're immensely grateful for their support, as well as that of our community partners, Joey and Elise at Red Devil and Patricia at Mi Ranchito, who have hosted annual fundraisers for us. Their support has been absolutely invaluable. Thank you again for allowing me this time and for your continued support of our Pink Patch Project. And I have a patch for each of you.
There you go. I got us. There's another 10. I got us. Thank you. Very seldom, but I had it tonight. Thank you, Holly, very much. I appreciate that. And don't forget, what's tomorrow night? Pizza with a Purpose, Red Devil. When they open till they close, bring the flyer. Then it's Mi Ranchito, Tacos for Hope, October 19th. These will all be posted on the website. 4 o'clock to 8:30 p.m. And then Panera, October 24th, 4 o'clock to 8 p.m. So let's make sure it's a success. Plus the food's great there anyway, too. So there you go. We have announcements of upcoming community events. I'd first like to call up Andy Glaze from the Laverne Firefighters Association for the Talk About events to support the campaign to support Breast Cancer Awareness Month during October. Mr. Glaze, welcome. Yes, he is. The last race was number 11. Yes.
100 miles.
100 miles.
Finished yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name's Andy Glaze, as they just stated, and I'm the president of the Laverne Firefighters Association. Great presentation by Holly. I'm just going to say ditto on a lot of that. But October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and all month long, your Laverne firefighters will be wearing these on-duty breast cancer awareness shirts. You unfortunately can't buy those, but we do have these ones for sale. It's on our website. You can see a better picture. But we wanted to come talk about them. We also have these. There's no camera, huh? Well,
actually,
on you guys
right there.
Well, I'll show you guys. So T-shirt and stickers. The T-shirts are $20. The stickers are $5. Oh, there we go. You're gonna get one anyways, but perfect. Thank you. So $20 for the shirt. $5 for the sticker. We have all the sizes and everything we have online. The quantities are limited and all the proceeds will be donated along with an additional donation from the Firefighters Association. So we've done this for many years. We make a shirt, we do a walk, and then we donate
Yeah,
the money
just
to the
100
Susan G. Komen Foundation.
Yeah.
We'll also be selling these at the Public Safety Open House in Touch a Truck on October 21st, which please put that on your calendar. That's between 9 and 1 p.m. At the Public Safety Building, 2061 3rd Street. It's going to be a lot of fun, so definitely check that out. And I wanted to present the city council with a shirt and a sticker, which I'll do at the end, but I also just, as an off-topic side note, I wanted to let the community know and you all know that the reason I have this terrible mustache is because we are having a mustache growing contest at the fire department. So,
Oh,
it's-
that's what that is.
yes,
I
it's-
just checked.
it's best and worst mustache. So it's a double competition. So, I might be in the running for both. I don't know. So don't judge us when you see us around with little wispy or thick mustaches. We're eventually we'll be raising money for prostate cancer awareness, which is Movember and November, but we also do Stashtober in October. So 2 months of mustaches. And yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. Here's some money. Here's some money on the top. Andy, right there. No, you, nothing's free. We pay for everything. No, thank you though. Yeah.
These are your guys' right sizes.
A medium. What are you, a bodybuilder? Take this, Andy, please, take that. I think we're good. Thank you and congratulations. Passed up. Okay, we're gonna now, we have a couple speaker cards here. Miss Best. Announcements. This is announcement. This is not public comment, but these are announcements for upcoming events. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
I'm Sherry Best, President of the Laverne Historical Society, and I'm very proud to announce that last Saturday, the Laverne team, the Laverne History Buffs, was the name of our
Ringers,
team.
ringers.
Yep. The Laverne History Buffs, not in the buff, won the first annual San Dimas and Laverne Seroptimus City Trivia Championship. Ta-ha. And at that time, only 2 of our 4 members were present on the team. So Bill Lemon and I killed it. So what can I say? So I'm very pleased about that. Now, do not forget, this Saturday, we are screening Uncle Sam at the University of Laverne Arts and Communication Building on C Street. Look for the Laverne table outside, me waving people and say, this is the place. It's free. On Monday, October the 9th, we'll be meeting at 7 p.m. at Hillcrest for a presentation called Race and Place. This should be a very interesting, interactive presentation looking at Laverne's history. And finally, just this afternoon, we got the truck running. Yes. No, fixed.
Does it move?
No
Does
fix,
move?
it moves. The truck made it through my driveway, out onto the
Not
street.
through the garage,
No,
the other way.
the street, turned around in the cul-de-sac and came back down the street and backed back into my driveway. So we had our first little run and we will be at the trunk or treat on the 14th of
Oh,
October.
that's gonna be fun.
So anyhow, look for us. We'll be looking for all of you. I'll pass this around.
Congratulations on your trivia
Thank
win.
you.
Yep. Hence the name Ringer.
On the other hand, I don't think Sandema submitted as many questions. And they did kind of horse the questions around, but Bill and I had it. We had it.
Yvonne Gallegos, come on up. Well, that's cool.
Good evening, everyone. Yvonne Gallegos, College Green. I do have two announcements. Our monthly CASI meeting is being held on Wednesday, 5 p.m. The Stitches Room over at Hillcrest. We're really honored to have the new president of the University of Laverne, Dr. Pardis Mahdavi, is going to be our guest speaker on Wednesday. So yeah, and even everybody's invited. And if you'd like to come in and hear her speak and talk about all the great things that she's going to be doing with the university, everyone's more than welcomed. Secondly, Cassie will also be sponsoring, along with our Compassionate Laverne chartered, the beautification day, Laverne Beautification Day. So we did do this earlier in September, but we are now going to do it again on October 21st. So that's Laverne Beautification Day. If anybody missed that from earlier in September, we just gave everybody the opportunity to go ahead and choose a spot within the city to pick up trash. I did that walking my dogs, took a trash bag with me, and as I walked my dogs, picked up trash along White. And then in the evening, I did that over on Foothill. So we are inviting all the community members to participate in this day, Laverne Beautification Day. Details are coming soon. Just save the date, October 21st, and we'll be organizing, where and identifying more parts of the city that need some attention, a little bit more attention. And we'll be, coordinating groups of people to go out and take care of that part of the city. Or again, just your part of the city, if you're walking your dogs or taking a stroll, take a trash bag with you and help clean up some of our streets. So October 21st.
What day was that again?
October 21st.
Okay, just checking.
That is a Saturday, and we're looking around maybe about 4 to 6 p.m. that we will all get together and do this. And
Now, remember, on October 21st is a public safety open house from 9 a.m.
Yes.
And there's also the Pumpkin Patch Car Show from 10 a.m. at Heritage Park. So
Mhm.
maybe wrap it around in those areas there somewhere,
It's
Anna.
a
It's a fun-filled day.
it's a day of Laverne activities.
There you
Sure.
go.
I'm well aware. Well aware of all the activities that are going on that day.
There's a lot October, but that's great.
Is there a when and where?
That's what we want to put this out as save the date. We were thinking of different ideas as far as like meeting at different places, right? Different groups of people, at different parks, maybe starting there. I think, like I said, I identified somewhere close to me that I could walk and go and pick up trash. Thomas Ellison had identified a place and he went out and picked up trash on Foothill Boulevard. So we are working out the details, but I invite anybody who's interested in participating and coordinating with us on that day to send an email to cassie.laverne@gmail.com. Ooh, also that reminds me, Cassie does have a new website. We're totally excited about it. So if you want to go and visit our new website, it is cassie-laverne.org. So now it's more consistent with all of our social media being Cassie.Laverne. It's really great website. It has a couple of approvals already from the audience back here. So I
Great.
invite you to do that.
If you could have something back to us, if you've got some kind of a organization on that
Yes.
at our next October 16th meeting,
Absolutely.
that'd be great. Then
Even
let us know
before
what's going on.
Yeah, even for that, Dr.
Okay.
Allison and I are working on that as we speak.
Okay,
All
very
right.
good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Anybody else on announcements? Just a real quick one here. October is an amazingly packed month, just besides Halloween, but we've got the big one this coming Saturday is the 4th annual vendor fair up at Heritage Park. Starts at 10 a.m. I think people need to know about that. All of these items are on our agenda packet now as what's going on in the community at the end. So just pay close attention to that and also on our website. I'll be doing some minute with the mayor and just other stuff on this, but these things are really, really, really fun things to go to. But that's just one of many. We have active transportation, planning commission meeting, Saturday, October 14th, which is the big one, is the trunk or treat here in the parking lot over in the community center. So there's just a lot of stuff. So we'll be posting this stuff, but make sure you look at the agenda to make sure to see what's going on in our city. With that, no other announcements. Prior to moving on to the consent calendar, on Thursday, September 28th, we held a special closed session meeting regarding initiating litigation. As a result of the meeting, we have a report out, but I wanted to make sure that the city attorney once again reported out the action from that meeting in front of all of you. Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to be clear, this was reported out after the special closed meeting. I am repeating it for the benefit of the public to ensure that everyone gets the word. The special closed session meeting considered whether or not the council would join in litigation that was filed last Friday. The lead plaintiff in the case is the city of Whittier. It's 12 cities, including the city of Laverne, have filed a lawsuit against the Los Angeles Superior Court to stop implementation of the 2023 bail schedules, primarily related to the issue of zero cash bail for a variety of offenses, including repeat offenses, and no backup plan, if you will. Under the prior law, the people could be held if they were committed a crime while they were out on cash bail on or zero cash bail on another charge. That provision is no longer in the bail schedule as adopted. The motion was made by Councilmember Crosby, and it was seconded by Councilmember Cashel-Vegeta. That was approved on a 5-0 vote by the City Council. As I said, that case was filed in Los Angeles County Superior Court. It's case number 23 STCP 03579. And as of this afternoon, an order to transfer the case to another county was issued. We believe it will be transferred to Orange County through a cooperative agreement. That does seem to be the most convenient court for all the parties in the matter. So that's my report out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I want to thank Attorney Barlow, but also I was at the sanitation district meeting, and one of the council members in Whittier mentioned, can we please get a hold of our city manager because this was happening and it was happening fast order. So if you open that up and you read exactly what that bail change was, the no bail, it's egregious and heinous. And I don't know how this happened. I mean, obviously they're trying to take away all the rights and no incarceration, but John and Ken had it on it today and they were all over it. But I think what's going to happen now is we're going to have a lot of cities jump on board, hopefully, which I think they are, because this is just one of those things that we need to stop, and we need to stop it now, because this is going to affect every single one of us in not a good way at all. And I thank you, Attorney Barlow, and also our city manager, and also the city of Whittier for putting this on. The city of Whittier manager, not manager, but mayor was on talking about what was going on with John and Ken. And this is bad stuff. We need to stand up and fight this. So, I really appreciate my council, but also our management for putting this forward and with the 5-0 and to move ahead. And hopefully we'll get much more cities on. So make this even more successful. So thank you guys very much. With that, we have a consent calendar. We're going to close announcements now and move to the consent calendar. As a reminder, the consent calendar is considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion unless pulled for a separate discussion. Mr. Domer, was there anything pulled from the consent calendar?
There was nothing received to have been pulled earlier today.
Council, anything want to be pulled from the consent calendar by any of you? With that, can I? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Stephen, weird. Let's open up.
Good evening, council. Can you hear me? Yes, so I did email earlier today and I apologize if I didn't do it properly. I was hoping to have pulled from the consent calendar number 7, the proclamation and certificate of recognition policy, based on comments that I sent to each of you and some separate discussions with you for further consideration or discussion, or maybe to be brought back at a later date for a vote after further evaluation of the policy. I don't want to reiterate what I emailed each of you, but my concern is that the language in the proposed policy, while I understand the intent of the policy, that it could be misused or abused to prevent routine proclamations or recognitions that I think we would all be supportive of if they fall under the guise of being, politically controversial, et cetera. So I put it in more detail in my emails to each of you, but I was just hoping that could be pulled for further discussion or revisited at a later date after additional evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you. Council?
I'm sorry. I think for the residents, as we've done with other residents, at least pulling it, so then we have discussion on it.
Okay. Then we'll go ahead and pull that. City Manager Domer.
You want to vote on the
We need a
balance?
motion. Yeah, we've got a motion. We can go ahead and move on with the other one. We'll pull that one. And we'll go ahead with the rest of the consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar and putting 7 for open discussion. You want
Second that. Vote, please.
That motion carried 5-0.
Then we'll bring back the proclamation certificate of recognition policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was requested earlier this year, or at least there was a direction provided to kind of bring back some clarification as to how proclamations, certificates of recognition are brought forward to the council. So what I asked staff to do is look at what other cities do. We reached out to the city clerk listserv, which has a lot of different cities on it, to find out what type of policies, procedures they do. So what is before you is kind of modeled after what is the commonality of all those processes out there. A little bit of tweaks here and there, but pretty much a policy that we believe is defensible, and the city attorney can speak to that, but one that gives just some coherence to the proclamation policy, differentiates between what a proclamation is and maybe a certificate of recognition. Tonight, there's an example because I believe it is for Red Ribbon Week on the consent calendar. We put a proclamation on there that would be presented at the next October meeting. So that's kind of the example of what we would do. There would be a request. If it meets what's in the policy, we would put it on the consent calendar. And then if approved, then it would come back for a presentation at the following week. Though there are some exemptions, some of those natural ones. So at the next meeting, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, other items like that, that will be just brought back because they're more nationwide in effect and recognition. So if there's any questions, both myself and the city attorney are here to answer any questions.
In relation to Mr. Word's comments, are you aware of the comments that he made? What's your thoughts on those as far as what we proposed?
I can understand the comments. I think the intent of the language at issue was really intended to focus on broad general categories as opposed to an individual perhaps asking for an item to be presented that in itself wouldn't have gained a broad consensus in the community. This is really a discretionary point for the city council to determine. Frankly, I think you could you would have the same amount of discretion without that language. But I think it's in part hopes to discourage inappropriate requests being made. So that if someone wanted, for example, to say, submit a request for proclamation condemning, the Muslim religion, for example, that would not be an appropriate request to make. But again, this is up to the council. I think it's defensible as it stands. You have a great deal of discretion in approving these requests or rejecting them, as it were. And of course, staff tries to be a gatekeeper to some extent in advance to guide and make recommendations about what proclamations should be brought forward for consideration.
Thank you. Council member, public comment on this? Anybody have a public comment on this item? No, that's good. Thank you. With that, we'll close public comment. Mr. Crosby.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Ward, for bringing this to our attention. After he made his comments today, I was ready to vote on it because I already spoke to city manager about his comments today about it too, and believe because of the discretionary piece for our council on any one of these, that then we will not be hold tight on the exact language on this where we have to put something on or not have to put some on. It's really discretionary of the council to put those on. So I'm ready to vote on that.
Thank you, Councilmember Crosby.
So it's my understanding then any council member could propose to have a proclamation. I mean, it's public as well, but
Yes.
It doesn't prohibit a council member from asking for.
Correct.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Mayor Pro Tem Lau.
Similarly, I did have a conversation with City Manager Domer as well about it, and I feel comfortable with some of the changes that were made to adjust to make it more discretionary, to make sure that the discretion was allowed in there. My only other comment at this point would be on page 93 under section 5. Under the exemptions, there's just a misspell.
Caught it again.
Should be agendized.
Thank you. Councilmember Cash, any comments?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate council's information on that, and I appreciate Mr. Ward's comments, but at the end of the day, we're going to be able to approve or disapprove of something as a council body. And I think it's given us the tools that we need in order to be as safe as possible, but also to review stuff that's of importance to many of our community members and organizations. So with that, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second vote, please.
That item was approved 5-0.
Thank you very much. Spear. Public Financing Authority. Now we recess to meet as the Public Financing Authority. State the time. It is 7:19 p.m. Do I have a motion for approval of the Financing Public Authority minutes of August 7th, 2023?
I move to approve the minutes.
Have a second?
Second.
Vote, please.
That item was approved 5-0.
We'll now move on to the second item, granting an easement to Southern California Edison Company for utility purpose of Valley Rancho Mobile Home Park. City Manager Domer, please call forward staff member who will be reporting on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to turn this over to Assistant City Manager J.R. Reynolds.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. The attached resolution grants an easement to Southern California Edison for utility purposes at the Valley Rancho Mobile Home Park, which is owned by the Laverne Public Financing Authority. This is very similar to an action that was taken a couple months ago for the gas company easement in the same park. So now we're just coming back. The easement is now ready with Edison, and staff's recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution titled "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Laverne, County of Los Angeles, State of California, granting an easement to Southern California Edison Company for utility purposes for 2909 Arrow Highway, otherwise known as Valley Rancho Mobile Home Park.
Thank you, JR. Do we have any comments before we go to public?
JR, these are for the utilities at the park. What about internet and telephone service? Are those also going underground or those utilities being replaced?
Yeah, specifically, we are trying to coordinate with Spectrum to run when we have the ground opened and trenched, to run that, those types of services as well. There are phone services currently in there, but that park has been lacking with internet service and has been something we've been working on actually with the council liaisons for the last several years, trying to get that. This provides that opportunity for us to get it in there because the vendor obviously has been apprehensive about investing in that. But since the trench is already open, it sounds like they're very willing to run that utility for us. And
Councilor,
we've certainly made sure that that our manager knows that that's a priority for council.
It has been. It's been an issue because people have to use hotspots and that doesn't work well at all. And they have to go to the clubhouse, which is very inconvenient. So we want to make sure our residents in the community are well taken care of. So any other comments before we go to public? Any public comment on it? We're going to open up public comment. Anybody wish to speak on this item? With that, we'll close public comment. Any further questions, council? That would be a no. Do I have a motion for approval of JFPA resolution number 69, granting an easement to Southern California Edison Company for utility purpose at Valley Rancho Mobile Home Park?
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Vote please.
That item was approved 5-0.
Okay, at 7:23 PM, we will adjourn the Public Finance Authority meeting and reconvene to the regular scheduled council meeting. We will now move to on the public hearings. We have one public hearing pertaining to 406 Baseline Road annexation and an ordinance establishing a pre-annexation zoning designation. City Manager Domer, please call forward the staff member who will be reporting on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm going to bring up Candace Bocock to present this item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. The applicant, or I guess you didn't state the case number. So case number 74-23 annexation and 93-23 zone change. This is a request by the applicant Deborah Chavez, proposing to annex a 15,000 square foot parcel located at 406 Baseline Road from the County of Los Angeles into the city of Laverne. A pre-annexation zone change is proposed to establish the zoning designation for the site that is currently within the unincorporated Los Angeles County area. Since the year 2000, municipalities have been precluded from extending utility services beyond our established boundaries. The future development of residential dwelling at the subject property will require the need of water from the city of Laverne. The only method by which the city can facilitate this provision of water service to the property entails the annexation of the parcel into the city of Laverne. This is the reason the applicant has filed the annexation application that is before you tonight. The proposal would annex the 15,000 square foot undeveloped site as well as the southern half of Baseline Road from unincorporated Los Angeles County into the city of Laverne and allow the future development of a single family home with associated infrastructure. The property has a current LA County zoning designation of A1 15,000, which allows for low density residential today. If annexed into the city of Laverne, the property is proposed to be zoned planned residential 3 dwelling units per acre, detached. This zoning is consistent with the zoning of adjacent and nearby properties. Although the property is in the county, it is already designated in the Laverne General Plan as low density residential, which is 0 to 5 units per acre. Therefore, a general plan amendment is not needed and only the zoning designation. The annexation process would officially begin with the Los Angeles Formation Commission, or LAFCO, once the project and environmental determination is approved by the City Council. At the Planning Commission meeting that was held on September 13th,
A few members of the public were at that meeting and spoke regarding the safety on Baseline Road, but there were no concerns regarding this specific application. It was explained that the city of Laverne does not have jurisdiction over this area of Baseline Road. Therefore, the Planning Commission approved recommending the project for approval to the City Council. In accordance with the Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, staff is recommending a categorical exemption per section 15319B and 15303A, as the proposed annexation and zoning will only allow for the future construction of a single-family home. It is recommended by staff and the Planning Commission that the City Council, number one, approve case number 7423 ANX and 93-23 ZC with a categorical exemption from CEQA, together with a LAFCO approval of annexation of this property into the city of Laverne. Number two, adopt resolution number 23-68, approving the annexation of the property to the city of Laverne. And number three, adopt ordinance number 1120, which establishes the pre-zoning designation of PR3D. The applicant, Mrs. Chavez, is available if you have any questions of her, and I will also be available from staff if you have any other additional questions.
Thank you, Ms. Boca.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. We have any questions for staff? Yes, please.
Just to be clear, the current zoning is for low density, but the new zoning that's proposed, that would only be available for a single home to be put on that property.
Correct.
Any other questions for staff before we open public hearing? Let's open up the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak on this item? Mr. Henley, please state your name and your address, sir. Did you move since the time you were at the first?
No. Bill Henley, 4315 St. Mark Avenue, Laverne, California. I'm all in favor of this. I know that sometimes people think I'm not. I'm more concerned with the safety issue of Baseline Road. As we know, there've been a couple unfortunates, a couple fatalities in the last year. One ended up, in my backyard, basically. We're all aware of that. It's difficult. Besides those accidents, there are accidents monthly out there. Sometimes twice in a week. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, there was an accident right out in front of the Haynes Center. The parking that's in front of that house right now takes up basically 6 or 7 spots, and then including the house next to it. Where are those 6 or 7 cars going to go? How big is the Haynes Center going to be allowed to be before they just run out of places to park? Occasionally they'll park on our street and then we have to run them off. There's a little sign that Haynes Center put up. But my major concern is, and I know that Tim and Rick and Cash, I've sent you guys pictures of accidents that have happened on the street. Recent ones. I've taken pictures of how you just can't see when you pull in and out of a driveway. And I know that particular address, and I know the house next to it. The guy lives next door to Deborah Chavez's property. Is a friend of mine, and there are times he can't see out of his driveway when he pulls up onto Baseline, because it's going to be an incline up onto Baseline when they pull out of that residence, when that house is filled. Listen, to have a custom house built on the other side of Baseline Road where there's nothing, I'm all in favor of it. I love the idea, just like I do on that 19-acre piece that's down the street from me. That brings joy to my heart, because having the only house on St. Mark, and Tim, you guys have been there, you've seen it.
I think it's joy to your 401k is what you're trying to say.
I don't like being the solo guy with with that kind of thing going. So, I'm all in favor of it. And I think that the house next to it is a really nice house too. And I think that the property next to that is also probably at some point will end up being a really nice place to build a house. I've mentioned before, and the Planning Commission kind of rained on the parade a little bit. But when I mentioned putting a crosswalk in at Dawn Avenue or a light, they said there's just not enough outflow on the traffic to do that. I don't care about that. It's a safety item. How in the world else can you cross Baseline Road? you have to go all the way up to Live Oak or all the way down to Fruit Street to cross Live Oak, not just safely, but legally. You know, you have to have a crosswalk. Otherwise, you're just kind of, you know, trying to see around that corner. And we've all been down Baseline. We know that cars do regularly 60, 70 miles an hour. They do. It's that street's made for that. So a center median, we need to figure out who's really going to be in charge of Baseline Road. Is it going to be Laverne? Is it going to be the county? Is it going to be Caltrans? I think that's something that you guys need to jump in and help figure out.
Yeah, we've reached our off topic now.
Okay.
So.
All right. So anyway, I'm all in favor. of it. I'm looking forward to a nice, big, beautiful house.
Thank you, Bill.
right.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? Raised. We're going to go ahead and close public comment and move it up the dais. Anybody comments on this item?
Just like that, that property is going to be used for a single family home rather than any kind of low density housing and things like that.
That's why I
would
read
agree
through it
with
a
that.
number of times to make sure, because gosh knows we've got issues with other stuff. So
Do we have a restriction on that?
I think it's designated for that. Three per acre, and that's 15,000 square foot. So one house. So, yeah. Any other comments or? No? I just have a comment. I appreciate that, Mr. Henley. I think we're all about building beautiful homes, and that's a great spot there. But at the end of the day, too, we want to make sure it's safe for our residents. And I know that Meg McWade, our Public Works Director, and I know that we're working with Caltrans and some of the other entities in Los Angeles County that we need to figure out whose property that is there on the main street. I know it's off topic, but the point is the safety of our residents in the Haynes Center also, that we may need to make it safer for our other residents, whether they're LA County or not. They're still our residents. They still come to our community. So I think it's something we need to, I know we're looking at it now, but we need to kind of hammer that down real quick. But I think your development's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great spot there. And like Mr. Henley said, the other 19 acres up there, if we can get that thing through, that's going to be a really pretty site too there. So with that, we need a motion.
And Mr. Mayor, if you do them all together, what I'd like to
That's
do.
what I was going to ask you. Do we need to?
Yeah, let's do them all together. But what I'd like to do is read the title of the ordinance.
Okay.
So
you go right ahead.
All right. Ordinance number 1120 titled An Ordinance of the City Council, the City of Laverne, County of Los Angeles, State of California, establishing a pre-annexation zoning designation from the Los Angeles County zoning of A1 15,000 to PR 3D and adopting the PR 3D HDOZ zoning for 406 Baseline Road, APN number 8666-009-033 in the city of Laverne, and finding the ordinance to be categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
Please. Oh, I'm just kidding. Sorry. With that, would like a motion?
So moved.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Vote, please.
That motion was approved 5-0.
Beautiful. We'll now move on to other matters. The first matter we'll be addressing is a request by Sierra Madre Police Department for the loan of the 3 rifles for participation in the Foothills Special Enforcement Team, or FSET, as we all call them. City Manager Domer, please call forward the staff member who will be reporting.
I'd like to have at the podium, and he's there promptly.
He's there already.
Lieutenant Corey Leeper. Thank you, sir.
Expediency, sir. Mayor, City Council, City staff, I'm honored to be here tonight. Talk about Sierra Madre Police Department's request from us as at Laverne PD to borrow equipment. It's not an unusual request. It's one that we've borrowed equipment in the past from Irwindale and other departments. So it's nothing that's outside the standard normal. In this particular case, Sierra Madre has joined our SWAT team, the Foothill Special Enforcement Team, and they have a need for equipment. So that specific need is a need for equipment that's outlined in AB 41, as I presented to staff earlier in the year. That particular equipment is outlined in the attachment A, which is 3 Colt rifles that we have as excess stock. And so due to the nature of the request, because AB 41 does outline equipment that does have to be approved by city staff to be loaned out to another department, I come before you to recommend the approval of such rifles to be loaned to Sierra Madre for a period up to 1 year. That being said, as they have ordered new rifles for their department, we have also ordered new equipment for our department as well. Their turnaround is about 3 months, so we expect for their rifles to come in by the end of the year and to have that equipment back to us. With that, I submit to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Do we have any questions for Mr. Leeper? With that, beautiful. Thank you very much. We're going to open up public comment. Do we have any public comment on this item? With that, we'll close public comment. Back up to the dais. Any comments or questions? I had one. Sierra Madre has experienced probably the largest bear population of ever. I just making sure that this is strictly for their FSET team. I'm just saying.
Bear hunting?
No, Mr. Johnson. With that, on that note, I would take a motion.
Motion to approve line item 11 for a loan request by Sierra Madre.
All right, second. Vote, please.
We're smoky.
That item was approved 5-0.
Okay, now in our second other matter is the award contract for the Los Flores Park Aquatic Center Improvement Project. City Manager Domer, please call forward the staff member who will be reporting on this item.
Thank you. It will be Cody Howling.
Before you start, hold please. I will be recusing myself since it does involve.
Oh, this involves the University of Laverne.
Thank you. Good point.
You know.
Think we're ready? All right. So good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. This item before you tonight, as stated, is the award of contract for the Los Flores Park Aquatic Center Pool Decking and Plaster Improvement Project. This evening, it's staff's recommendation that City Council award the Public Works construction contract to California Waters Development, Inc., the lowest, most responsive bidder in the amount of $1,330,505 for stated project. Also authorize staff to issue change orders not exceeding 15% of the construction budget for a total possible cost of $1,530,081. Excuse me. And finally, adopt resolution number 23-69 appropriating $30,081 from the Park Development Fund to the Los Flores Park Aquatic Center Pool Decking and Plaster Improvement Project. So I have a few items I want to highlight to council for this and be happy to answer any questions along the way or after, however we want to go. This is a facility, the Los Flores Park Aquatic Center, that received a major overhaul in 1997. So it's been about 25 years since it's really had its deep reconstruction. Work to continue maintaining the pool has gone along the way, as pools do. They take a lot of maintenance. This, however, we're coming up at the end of the service life of the deck, which I'm not sure if you've had a chance to visit it, but it is cracking, and we are concerned that there might be yielding of the reinforcement. So at this point, it's my recommendation to fully replace the deck. The plasters also reached the end of its service life, and along with that, we've got quite a bit of tile and all the other things that go along with redoing a pool. So hence, not a cheap project, without saying that. This particular facility has a three-way share. So the city of Laverne is the owner. However, there is an agreement between the city and the University of Laverne and Bonita Unified School District to use the facility. And so within that agreement, the cost for this project and cost for all maintenance for that matter is split equally, a third, a third, a third. So this action tonight with the project is the entire project cost for the contract, but we anticipate that that would be reimbursed once we reach the final actual construction costs and we can distribute that to our partners on this. Council may recall that earlier, when was it? Earlier this year, we had to reject the bids for this particular work. We had one bid come in. That rejection occurred on January 17th of 2023. Want to highlight that that one bid we rejected was $1.964 million. We did recraft the project scope slightly, removing the shade structures that are actually under construction as we speak. And so I think we're pleased to see the bids did come in more in line with what we expected. So the engineer's estimate was 1.150. The low bid, and that's for the base scope. The low bid for the base scope is 1.114. So I think these are quality bids in the sense that we've got the price that the market would yield. The other item that I want to point out to council is 15%. So typically we don't ask for 15%. This is 5% over the typical, which is 10%. We have a situation with the pool being that it is a complex project. The pool deck has a number of facilities tied to it. One, for example, is the drainage system is in the pool deck. It is enveloped by the concrete. So that's completely coming out and rebuilding it. We like to think we know what we're going to encounter, and we're hopeful that we won't need any of this contingency, but that's not typically how construction goes. So that's why we're requesting the 50%. The other feature of that is timing. So being that this is a heavily utilized facility, we have a very narrow and limited window of time to get this project done. We've already worked with the various departments, the aquatic groups and whatnot to find this window. And so if we have any particular issues, while we're more than willing to come back to council to ask for those requests, we do have a very limited time that we want to be able to address these quickly and swiftly so that we can get the facility back up and running in a timely manner for summer. So that concludes my report. I'm available for any questions.
What was the time duration again? How many months was it that's going to be down? It was May, I think?
So it is the construction period where we're actually going to be making dust, doing demo and rebuilding is going to be March 24th through mid-May 24th.
That was it. The end was May. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
The contract's going out, obviously, with council's action. If awarded, we would move forward, schedule a pre-construction meeting within the next week to two, get agreements issued and start working on any long lead time items. So with this, I don't recall what number it is, but we are asking that we replace the 1 meter diving board. That is an additive alternate item that we are requesting. Those things might take a little while, although I don't think it will take that long. We also have to work with County Department of Public Health on this. So we need to get their permits in order, get their inspectors satisfied, and of course, have that all happen before summer. So yeah, we're starting right away.
It's tough getting construction things like that set up, especially with permits. It's just the entities you deal with sometimes are very difficult or just the time consuming. So
it's many steps, all good reasons, but many steps.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can say also that as part of the fiscal impact and the staff report, it is identified that the city was the recipient of a grant.
that was my next question.
Yeah,
How
state
much was Chris
appropriation.
Holden's?
So we were very fortunate to have Assemblymember Holden, go to bat for us up in the state legislature. He was able to provide 1.5 million for the Las Flores Park. Part of that amount we are going to be using towards the pool because in part of our grant and his appropriation request was the partnership between the University of Laverne and Bonita Unified School District and the city. And so that, enveloped a lot more people being basically provided services by the pool. So we're going to be looking at the amount of that grant based on some of the needs, which is including the south restroom facility and a couple other issues at the park. But it could be as close to $500,000, maybe a little bit less. But that is a great help to this project and to all three entities.
That was my next question was what was the gift that Mr. Holden gave us? That's quite substantial, especially for that. And we need it. We need restrooms in this Las Flores Park on the other side. So Councilmember Johnson.
The heaters were just replaced.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And those are operating.
To my knowledge, yes. I have not heard otherwise.
Mr. Crosby.
Two questions. As though we are parties with two other entities, have they approved this project as well, or do they have to approve this project?
So the scope of work has been circulated to the groups. They don't have to necessarily approve the project because it is an action of the city council. But as far as I know, they are in favor of it. We have met with their various staff, and I know Yvonne Duran has worked closely as well as Chad Peterson to make sure that they're all don't know, satisfied, but at least on board with the process that we're moving forward with. So.
Yeah.
And my second question, I know that they talked about the shade structure, try to get some shade around there. I know that pool deck gets extremely hot, especially in the middle of the summer. Is there a material that they can put on top of that deck to so it's not as extremely hot in the middle of the time where it's almost burning the kids' feet running from the shade to the pool area? And I know running's not allowed by pools.
So
That would be no.
there are products out there, whether they dramatically impact the surface temperature or not. I can't say that I've honestly looked too close into that. There are surface materials that improve friction, so that of course, if you happen to be running against the rules, you're not less likely to trip, I suppose. Those are surface applied materials. We can always come back and look at those someday in the future. It's not been something we propose, obviously cost being a major concern and limited window. So there's other maintenance components with that I don't have a whole lot of direct experience with, but it's certainly something we can look closely into. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Howling. We'll open up the public comment now. Anybody for public comment on this item? Ms. Bochamp. Where are you going to swim and it's closed? Is that what you're going to ask?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. It was an excellent explanation, Cody. I do have some questions about it. I know there was a time, unfortunately, the insurance had lapsed for that facility at one time. So what percentage of an increase or actual cost increase to insurance will this be put onto the city? It's not just these dollars here that are being spent on construction. Granted that we're only paying 33.3% of that, but we also have to factor into insurance costs, increased insurance costs. So I think that needs to be provided as well pertaining to that. And then also what percentage of the contingency is for any damage that potentially could happen to the surrounding area if a construction truck ran over sprinklers at the park, or, when they're doing concrete or something like that. What, because there is an adjacent park that's open, what part of that is, separate from, because there's the three entities involved, but Los Flores Park is strictly City of Laverne. How does that factor in? So I'm glad to see there is contingency, because construction, as Mr. Hepburn knows, there's always increase in cost somewhere along the line, but you have to plan for the accidents that almost always occur in construction. So especially when you're dealing with subcontractors. So they're just really questions for Cody and his team. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? We'll go ahead and close public comment. Mr. Howling, you want to respond to those?
Yeah. And Mr. Mayor, there may be, answers that the city attorney and myself, I know that all of our
On the
facilities
insurance.
are insured. And then there's extensive, and Mr. Howling can go into that, the pre-construction activity to stage the construction and the, fencing off of areas and all that stuff to ensure that safety.
Yeah, I just add before Mr. Howling that we typically require in our contract that if there is damage to city property by the contractor during the course of construction, it is their obligation to repair it. If they don't repair it, we do, and they get billed for it.
Thank you.
Well, it sounds like most of my questions have been answered. Yeah, what we call that is restoration. That's a component of the contract. So if the contractor does damage something, that we work with them to make sure it gets resolved in a way that meets my expectation, as well as the public works director and parks facilities, anybody involved with that. So as far as the insurance, I couldn't really go into specifics of changing in rate, but I will say that this is really, at least in my opinion, a maintenance project. We're replacing essentially what is there today. So I don't know how that would impact the insurance, but it is a maintenance project. So we're not adding, we're not changing, we're not deducting anything. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions for staff, council? I just want to say that this has been a long time coming, and I want to thank Director Duran and her staff, but also our staff. It's been, to say the least, you're dealing with two other entities that this is sometimes difficult, and she makes it seamless, and it's not. And I want to thank our Public Works Director, Meg, also, maybe Wade, but it doesn't happen overnight, and this has been something we've needed to do for a long time. I remember the concrete being broken when my son was playing water polo, so that's a long time ago. So we're excited for this. I think it's gonna be great, as long as all the parties can do this. I think it's gonna be a great project, and have basically a new pool, new decking, new structures. I think it's fantastic. So thank you. We applaud you and all the staff. Thank you. With that, I need a motion.
Motion to approve item number 12, where everybody else does.
There's 3 recommendations. Do we have to do by all?
Yeah, do we need all three
Oh,
or just
geez,
the
you
one?
lost.
Staff recommendation.
Good.
There you go.
I'll let you have one.
Second.
Vote, please.
That item was approved 4-0 with Mayor Pro Tem Lau abstaining, recusing herself.
You're back. Did you eat? You ate stuff. I know you did. You had more candy. Great. Now we move on to the last other matter, a proposed ordinance regarding obstruction of transportation facilities. City Manager Domer, please call forward the staff member who will be reporting.
From the police department, it'll be Lieutenant Chris Dransfield.
Good evening, Mr. Dransfeld.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Today I'm going to be talking about the ordinance adding Division 4 of Title 12, Transportation Facilities of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding obstruction of transportation facilities. The need to maintain access to public property, particularly transportation facilities, is increasing in this city as the regional rail and bus system expands. Concerns about obstruction of such facilities, including calls for service to the police, have risen, highlighting the need to ensure that bus benches, shelters, transit, and rail stops remain accessible. With the construction of the light rail station, the city is seeking to put in place necessary health and safety measures after review of our current municipal codes. The proposed ordinance adds Chapter 12.60 to the Laverne Police Municipal Code concerning unlawful camping, storage and obstruction of access to transportation facilities, and addresses both current transportation facilities in the city, such as bus stops, and will also protect access to the light rail transit system, which is currently under construction. Concerning transportation facilities, the proposed ordinance would prohibit camping in or on any transportation facility or obstructing such property or immediately adjacent property, blocking access to transportation facilities. Prohibit any persons from occupying any transportation facility for sleeping or living. Prohibit any persons from storing personal property, including camping items, which is tents, huts, any other temporary shelters, cots, beds, sleeping bags, bedrolls, in or on any transportation facility within the city. It also prohibit any persons to erect a tent in or upon transportation facilities, and prohibit any person from storing any bulky items in or about transportation facilities. The city currently provides multiple outreach and engagement programs for unhoused residents. The city works directly with Tri-City Mental Health, the San Gabriel Valley COG, and La Cata. During the city's 2023 point in time count, which was conducted in late January of 2023, 6 unsheltered individuals were counted. Based on local settlement agreements with Los Angeles and Orange County, which follow the Martin versus Boise case, Laverne currently
contracts for enough beds for the homeless persons. Staff recommends that the city council waive further reading of the ordinance and place on first reading ordinance 1121, amending chapter 12 of the Laverne Municipal Code by adding Division 4, Chapter 12.60 to regulate camping and storage of personal property or bulky items in or upon transportation facilities in the city. Does anybody have any questions?
Very smooth. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Lieutenant Ransfeld?
LT, I have one question. That's only on or adjacent, not any other zone around it, right?
It's anything that accesses, that affects transportation. So a good example would be the bus stop.
Okay.
At or near the bus stop. Anything that prevents any access to a transportation. So when we get, when the light rail comes through,
Sure.
you know, any access to the platform, anything like that, anything that affects transportation, the sidewalk near the bus stop.
So now let's say within 100 feet or 200 feet, we couldn't add, we didn't have that looked at only specifically to that.
It affects, access to the
Got it.
transportation.
I get you. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can weigh in on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come
we,
on.
we can't make it every public space. We can't make it every sidewalk,
Sure.
but this really is either in or immediately adjacent. So if you have, for example, somebody with camping materials or whatever,
Yeah.
right next to bus bench or bus stop or a transit stop where it actually prevents people from getting in there and using it, that would be prohibited, even if it's not in the bus stop itself.
So it wouldn't affect the advanced infrastructure district, all the improvements that we've made to those sidewalks, or do you think that's too far away from the?
Only this is limited in scope to the actual transit stops.
But also, we've reviewed our overall codes, and this is kind of a hole that was in the code, so this is a patch. We do believe we have sufficient ordinances on the books to look at other issues if there was like a blocking of a sidewalk or camping in other public spaces and all that stuff within the applicability of the law. So
Correct.
this was the hole that we're now filling, thankfully.
It kind of gets into the realm of trespassing also. So kind of adding to that with our local businesses and things like that. So we're just adding this in as especially with what we've got coming. So is that correct?
That's correct.
I think we'll open up. Thank you. I might have some more questions.
you
If
for
we
your
could open
time.
up public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Gary?
You listed everything on there, some shopping carts. These homeless leave them all over the place. You might want to add that in there.
That would be considered a bulky item and would be prohibited.
Would be prohibited from,
Yes.
okay, so it's a bulky item. So that's included in the bulky item.
Okay, I'll go back and sit down and shut up.
Thank you, Gary. Ms. Beauchamp.
Good evening, council again. I have questions. What would the infraction be upon the individual that is posing this threat or blockage to the transportation? Is it an arrestable offense? Is it just a citation? And who is going to be implementing it? Will it be officially Laverne Police Department or would it be the host program? Questions I'd like to know. Because I feel like, Laverne PD's got their hands full, especially with the increase in crime. I know our host program is, only so many individuals available during certain shifts. And so I don't know, maybe if it's not an arrestable offense that, some other kind of homeless outreach through the county or San Gabriel Valley can offer individuals to help relocate these people in a peaceful manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Anyone else on public comment? Mr. Gill.
in certain circumstances, I know on Foothill right now, we actually have some individuals that are currently living on some bus stops on Foothill Boulevard. And we don't see the cops moving them at all. And I know it's not Laverne, it's actually San Dimas, which is kind of sad. And if these people are cited and they leave and they come back, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen here. That's what's really going to be really interesting, because are they just going to move to another bus stop? I mean, if this is just going to continue to grow, and we've already know we've got more issues coming that we're going to deal with. Hopefully we can stop it. But we're just seeing a problem in its infancy. And we need to figure out the best way for the best solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? We'll go ahead and close public comment. Can we answer a couple of those questions regarding the homeless situation?
I'll give it a shot, and then Mr. Demmer may want to weigh in as well, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Yeah, typically this would be an infraction if they refuse to move. But we certainly would start with reaching out and having the homeless services reach out to the individual and offer those services. If we find things that we have to remove that are blocking, the notice would be posted, and that material would be kept as required by law, and available to be returned to the individual. We don't return shopping carts because they don't belong to the individual who may have been using them. We would return them to the actual owner. Other than that, we can't really do anything about the San Dimas bus stops. We can only control what's in our jurisdiction.
And just for the public education, and there's a whole protocol that needs to be gone through if there is somebody within a transportation center that or a shelter that meets everything within this ordinance. So a lot of it is through our contacts with Lakota, with San Gabriel Valley COG and the CARE program, with our own LEAP team here. Basically, you go out, you address the situation, you offer services, you check to see if there's a bed. And it's only after that extensive process that if the person continues to refuse, then they are subject to the infraction. This comes from basically the settlement agreements through Judge Carter's issue. Everybody knows Federal Judge Carter has settlement agreements with many cities now in LA. Kind of started in Orange County with the Anaheim Santa Ana River issue. I was part of that when I was in Fullerton, so know well and wanted to make sure that we hit all that criteria that he had put into all those settlement agreements. And that is the process that our officers and our outreach and engagement personnel do to address the situation. Because again, homelessness itself is not a crime, but our goal is to make sure that these people can get into adequate shelter and get the services they need. But there is a process. We will follow that. And at the end, if they continue to refuse, then there is a citation.
Thank you. Lieutenant Dransfeld, do you have anything to add to that as the host team? Okay. Because I know that part of this is also storage, and I know we have that now. Storage of their belongings if a situation occurs, the host team comes out. So, yeah, I think it's just a nice addition to what we have already to do this. And I think our most important thing too right now is with Metro to make sure that the trains are not only safe but clean, and also the cities behind us that have been experiencing this over the last many years, from the inception of the station in downtown LA all the way through, that something drastically needs to be done about that. And we're going to seriously push on that, being on the COG, but also on the Gold Line board, that it's safety is the most important thing. They had another couple issues over the weekend. And so, it's coming to our town, and it's coming fast. It's 2025. That's just around the corner. So we don't have a lot of time, but I think this is a great step to push to be able to protect our station areas, our bus stations and all that, but any questions for Mr. Dransfield, anybody, or? Thank you. Thank you for bringing that forward. Thank you. With that, do I have a motion to approve and waive further reading of ordinance number 1121, adding a division 4 of title 12, chapter 12.60 of the Laverne Municipal Code pertaining to transportation facilities? Do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Second,
I say.
vote please.
That item was approved 5-0.
Beautiful. We now move to public comments. Public comments and oral communications, a time set aside for anyone wishing to address the city council on items not listed on the agenda. I want to remind everyone that the Brown Act prohibits the city council from talking or engaging in discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. However, your concerns may be referred to staff or set for discussion at a later date. Forget about the 3-minute. At this time, those who are wishing to make comments not listed on the agenda and are here at chamber can come up to the podium. Please state your name and record. Ms. Beauchamp.
I wanted to thank each and every person on this dais for having that closed session meeting and voting 5-0 in favor of aligning yourselves with the additional cities to fight the zero cash bail. I think that is a big decision, and I think it's a sign of what has come to our city. It wasn't that long ago that our council only voted 3-2 with the vote of no confidence in Gascon. And even though he's still in office, unfortunately, because of the crime that has come to our city, and it's been violent at times, as we've seen at Rodeo Jewelers and other places, that it's necessary for our council to support the residents and really put forth the effort of keeping the residents safe. So I want to personally thank everybody that was involved with that decision and that meeting. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Anyone else wish to speak? Public comment? Mr. Gill. You're next, Gary. No, Gary's waiting. He's gonna.
I just wanted to find out if anybody had any current status of what was going on with the 740 project. I know I haven't heard much myself, but I'm hearing from other cities about other installations that they're fighting as well. Buildings that are going up in Sherman Oaks. I know that Hacienda Heights is still fighting for against works, and Claremont is fighting. And this is becoming a major issue because it's not really a homeless, it's a money-making process. These nonprofit agencies are making millions of dollars off of this homeless process. And it's amazing. Last week, when we were at a meeting with the assistant DA, he was even amazed at how much money is being made by these companies. We have to understand that these buildings that are being made and being used by these companies are not being built for the right reasons. And these companies are going to keep on coming. Now, the 740 project, we're still going to fight, and we're going to continue fighting. But that's in San Dimas. Laverne may still have a fight yet to come. And people have to understand that. Because like you said, there is open land available. And that land can be taken by the state, as it was in Glendora. The state can come and say, we want that land, and we want it used for housing. So we have to be careful, and we have to think about what's going on. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Anyone else wish to speak? Oh, Gary, and then
I brought this up after the last thing, Halloween. Are you gonna block off Bonita this year? Because there's a lot of kids crossing that street back and forth. I don't know if you said you're gonna talk about it. I didn't never hear back from you. And the other one on Fruit Street, that closed up school. Please tell me they're not gonna build more houses in there. Is that? It's just gonna be a mess down there. Is that project they got going down there? It looks ugly. So if you can answer me that, when I go back and sit down and shut up, I appreciate it.
you got it, sir. Thank you. Anyone else?
City Council, Wayne Perry, 4744 Esperanza. I would like to point out what I believe is a shortcoming when it comes to the city website. And the genesis of my comments was that I contacted Mr. Mayor and Cash about the fact that last time you guys announced the copy with a cop, and I went on, I wasn't sure I heard it. I went on the website, looked all over, not a single place was it. And it was commented during the meeting by Mr. Domer that it was on the website. I couldn't find it. I think I'm pretty swift about doing that, but I couldn't find it. And then I wasn't prepared to talk, so excuse me if I ramble a little bit, but I see here we've got six events coming up. I quickly looked at trying to find these, and not a single one is on the website of anywhere. So you've got one coming up on Saturday. How do we have people going to these things, knowing about going to these things when they aren't available but here? And how many people look at this? So I would ask that maybe we should look into getting what I would want is either the front page or a section of the front page when you first log into the website, the city's website, that says something like city news, city events, that kind of thing that comes up immediately.
She's pulled it up just as you were talking.
Okay.
Wayne.
I hope I'm wrong. Honestly, I do.
Well, I mean, it's on the website. We actually have a calendar right there.
Yeah.
And does it populate at the first part of when you pop it open?
But is there anything about the vendor on Saturday?
Should be October 7th. No.
That's what I
Why?
did. I thought, I'd like to see what that is.
Okay.
It's not there.
Well,
So I would like,
that's an
and
important one.
I would like to see it not buried under all these menus and stuff, but something really out front that says, hey, here's what we're doing. Even if you notice on the website, under residents, special events, we still have the 4th of July for this last year on that. We have trunk or treat, and that's it. And nothing else is there. So all I'm asking is that maybe we need to rethink if the city wants people to go to these things, they have to know about it. And we need to make it as simple as possible. And to me, that would be put it up front. Okay. So of the 6, like I just said, I can't find a single one. So there's obviously a shortcoming here. And along those same lines, I would like to also suggest that under new events, city news, however you want to put it, we also do a little bit of business friendly part to this. How about announcing new businesses? We've got this cookie place coming up here. I don't know what it is, but I understand it's a cookie place. That would be nice to know. And if they could get maybe 100 more customers than they would have gotten had nothing been said, they might survive where they might have failed. The new pharmacy over there at Panera, that's, and maybe even if you want to even go further, how about businesses that close? We're losing 99-cent store, right? Does anybody know about that? I didn't. So I'm just trying to say that I think we need to be more upfront about the information being provided to the citizens in an easily found place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Anyone else wish to speak on public comment? Mr. Henley. State your name and your, oh, never mind.
Thank you. You guys, I just wanted to compliment our police department here. Actually, the residents of Laverne have no idea how fortunate they are to have the police and fire departments being city run like this. For example, that annexation that we were talking about earlier, she'll be able to call the Laverne Police Department, the Laverne Fire Department. You have no idea how much better they are than having to wait for the sheriff's department to show up. But I was going to bring up an incident that I saw about 2 weeks ago. Somebody tried to set up a taco stand over there by In-N-Out Burger. Now, there's always a taco stand over there in Pomona, over there by the drugstore on the corner of Foothill and Town Avenue. There's always something going on over there. Nobody bothers them. I guess nobody cares that they're in front of other businesses that pay for those parking spots. But the Laverne Police Department came out there and very professionally, you guys did a great job. You shut them down and got them out of there before they could take up any precious parking for any of those stores that are trying to survive. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. You guys have a great city here. And I'm very happy to be part of that. My family is all in Laverne. They've always been in Laverne. Kids have all gone to school. My nieces and nephews have all gone to Laverne Bonita High School. So it's a great town to live in. And part of it is the polite police and fire department being locally and not county. So anyway, thank you for keeping that aboard.
We have to annex you.
That'd be nice.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Anyone else on public comment? We'll go ahead and close public comment. And we got somebody? Oh, he's got a hand up. I didn't see it. Mr. Ward. There you go.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to say thank you for the additional discussion on the proclamation policy that we pulled earlier. It answered my questions about the discretionary nature of it and reassured me of the ability to continue moving forward with proclamations such as those for Pride Month or Veterans Month, recognizing veterans, et cetera, things that folks might find controversial, but I'm glad that the city still has the discretion to do so. The other thing I did want to note is probably an unpopular opinion, but I did want to encourage the council to maybe revisit participation in the lawsuit that was voted on last week in closed session. While I understand the desire to appear tough on crime and the concern about public safety, I'm not sure that the institution of secured cash bail makes us any safer. I think it just allows those who have money to have a different set of justice than those who don't. And what we're talking about are pre-arraignment release protocols for non-violent, non-serious felonies and misdemeanors, where folks who have been arrested but not convicted and at times not even charged with a crime, being forced to sit in jail for days or even as long as a week simply because they're too poor to afford bail. As the presiding judge said when announcing this, a person's ability to pay a large sum of money should not be the determining factor in deciding whether that person who is presumed innocent stays in jail before trial or released. So I understand the concern about crime. I get wanting to take tough positions, but I'm not sure that pushing back against bail reform, which has found to have a positive impact. In fact, the Judicial Council of California found an actual reduction in rearrests for felonies and misdemeanors for those in systems where the cash bail was eliminated or secured cash bail was. So it's just something I'd like to reconsider, maybe have some experts on the system come in and talk to you, maybe do a study session on it. I understand the desire to work quickly. I know our city attorney drafted the lawsuit and it's very well written. So I understand and appreciate the intent. I'm just not sure the statistics back it up. I think numerous academic studies, peer-reviewed academic studies have shown that cash bail just creates a two-tiered system of justice for the poor and the wealthy. And keeping folks jailed and caged simply because they can't afford to get out of jail for crimes that they haven't been convicted of and half the time aren't even charged for, I think is not necessarily the best approach. So I understand that's probably an unpopular opinion in this chamber and these days, but I did just want to voice that and encourage you to revisit and consider maybe doing a study session with some of the experts in the area. And I'm happy to work with you on connecting you to some of those folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Anyone else wish to speak public comment? With that, we'll close public comment, bring it up to the dais. You want to answer a few of those questions, Mr. Domer? I know that Gary had some questions about closing Bonita during Halloween and
That one I will have to talk to staff about because I don't believe I was here when that was brought up originally. So I'll chat with staff afterwards and find out what the issue was and what we may or can or cannot do about that.
might be a tough one, but
And then also just on, website issues. Yeah, we're always looking to better our ability to communicate with the public. And so we'll look at that. I know we have an issue with the calendar and some community events. We try to put as many as possible. We also, through social media, will share through our various social media accounts other people's because we can't populate all things community related on our city webpage, but we do look to make sure that we can get as many as possible on there, and most certainly our own events. So, but as you know, we struggle to reach everybody who wants to hear about something that we're doing, but we will always try on that.
He had another question regarding the Lutheran High School.
Oh, yes, Gary, on that. On Lutheran High School did reach out to the broker. We do expect, they haven't put it out on the commercial services like LoopNet and other things yet. Every time we do talk to them, we talk and tell them that we do not want residential, that we'd like for them to, work with other private schools to locate there because it's a great facility and also we use it. So, but it is not yet out there that I'm aware of and have not been informed. And when we've looked on LoopNet, have not seen it yet on the commercial sites. So, but it should be forthcoming. It is zoned public institutional, so it would have to go through a complete rezoning to change it to anything residential.
And I was going to mention too, the fact is that we're merging a lot of all of our departments together to get communication together so that we post something on the website, kind of everybody's in sync, and that's coming together now. So, but it's never going to be perfect, but I think we've come a long way in a very short period of time, at least, but we appreciate the comments because it's important that we get this information out because we want it to be successful, especially this one on Saturday. It's a great event. It really is.
And what I'd recommend is everybody, you can get email notifications about agendas, about community events, about applications. So if you go to cityoflaverne.org/notify, you'll be directed to that page. You can put in, what those events you want to be notified about. And that's the easiest way because then you're getting either a text message or an email message. And it helps us get more information out there.
740 project.
Oh, and actually that I don't have any update right now. Always checking in with the sources with Supervisor Barger's office. It's not going forward on their agenda.
Which is the NOFA funding for the $7 million, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's been
it's been reduced because of the numbers.
Yeah, the original was 7 million. The concept that they introduced to the joint city council meeting reduced the amount of units from, I believe it was 54 down to 43. So that reduced the potential NOFA award to the $6.2 million. But again, that's not going forward on the supervisor's agenda. So we hope it stays that way.
We'll keep our ear to rail on that one because I know that it changes, but they're not going to approve the funding. Hopefully that will help us to have some time. So council comments. Mr. Crosby.
Just want to, we recognized Kennedy Kelly today, and that she'll have a booth on this Saturday out there. She helps donate things for the Canine project and things like that too. So appreciate it. And just want to highlight, I know Ms. Bochamp, you said at the last council meeting on October 14th, they're doing the 15th, they're doing a 740 rally and fundraiser. So I want to make sure that, I know you didn't say it today, but want to make sure I got there. It's okay. I got you. And then for our community events, the Halloween Hop is coming, and you need to register for students or children with disabilities. It's coming Friday, October 27th. And then our Halloween Carnival at the Laverne Community Center. Also, you need to register with them, and that's on Saturday, the 28th. And again, thank you to our residents that actually asked for putting this on our agenda. It's really become very helpful, even to me, that I send everything, but keep it all in one spot as well. This is a great place to help with communication. So really appreciate the resident that asked for it, and that city following through.
Thank you, Councilmember Grow. Councilmember Cash.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. It's a friendly reminder to please don't forget to support our great police and fire department during the Pink Patch Month. I lost my mother to cancer, and it was in October. And so it's really important to me that we continue to support those folks that are going through this process, horrible disease. So I look forward to having that walk, I guess, with the firefighters are going to hopefully host sometime this month. I guess the date's going to be determined. Appreciate the having all those events on that last page, and thank the city staff for sending me, thank Andrea for all those great emails. I appreciate that because I could put it on my calendar and I can, at least try to attend as many events as I can. I was there on Saturday, support our local jewelry shop, Amazing Rodale Jewelers. Definitely supported them. My wife's happy. It cost me money, but that's okay. I always walk out more for them than I can for myself, but that's just how I go. And appreciate that. And I really appreciate also the chief of police, Sam Gonzalez, for his feedback and information that we had during the sessions regarding this that zero bail, which hopefully we continue to fight and win. And with that, I thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate you all. We have an amazing city attorney. Fight, win, right? That's right. Hey, Joe. Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
I very much understand the sentiment regarding the zero bail and people on both sides of that issue. My wife is one that would prefer that we would not proceed with that, but I think for the safety of our citizens, it's imperative that we put up a stand. Other than that, I'd just like to thank staff for their work with the Pink Ribbon Week. I think breast cancer is something that affects us all. So again, kudos to staff in that regard. Camp Aflabah Page seems to be in the news again. And there's no decisions apparently made on that as to what's happening to those camps.
It's coming.
Not yet. It's coming. I think tomorrow they're going to have the global plan that's going to discuss it, the LA County Board of Supervisors. But I think there's going to be a full detailed plan. It's going to come out tomorrow, hopefully, if not in the following week. I'll brief you guys up if I can hear anything right away.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Mayor Pro Tem Lau.
So a couple of things just to start off, just thank you to staff for all of the amazing presentations, the Pink Patch Project, all of the things that everybody is doing. I think it's really important that we recognize how breast cancer can affect so many of us. I also wanted to send a shout out to Christy and the finance department. I know it was on the consent items, but the investment policy, the red lines, I hope that made it easier for anybody else that was looking at the agenda as well, that you could see what the differences were, what the changes were, and hopefully simplified that process. So I just want to give thanks about that. I also wanted to report out that I attended the League of California Cities Conference, September 20th through the 22nd. It's a conference where elected officials throughout the state are able to attend. And I know some of my fellow council members, I believe the mayors attended in the past, but it's a great opportunity to meet some of the other electeds from other cities within the state who are facing very similar issues to what we are. And it's an opportunity to determine, what path forward can we make, and on what items can we collaborate. So I think it's it's something that I know many of my fellow council members have attended other conferences or are engaged in other meetings. And I think that's an important thing to be highlighted, that in this role, while you may just see us, at events throughout the city, or maybe, on the dais here, every couple of weeks, we're also out and about in other spaces and places trying to make sure that we're as educated as we can be in leading the city. I also wanted to note that for those of you that are interested, Tri-City Mental Health Health Authority is hosting community forums in the coming weeks. One will be virtual and one will be in person. And the goal of these community forums is to address issues that impact the community, ways in which they can improve service to our communities, and how they can better share out their resources. So the in-person community forum is happening on October 17th. And it'll be from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the community center here. And then if you can't make it in person, there is a virtual option, which is on October 19th, and that's from 10 to 11:30 a.m. And if you go to their website, you can register with the Zoom and find all that. So you'll have that information readily available. And then just a couple of other things, just a reminder that in addition to all of the other things that are happening in October, we are inaugurating our newest president at ULV on October 13th. And that is also the start of homecoming weekend. So for any Leos that are present or that are listening and watching, please come home and see all your family. I call it my other Christmas because it's an opportunity to see so many people that you don't get to see regularly. There's also a ULV golf tournament at South Hills Country Club on October 23rd. So for any of you that are golfers, the proceeds from that tournament goes to student scholarships. So really good cause and a fun day, or should be a fun day. So I'm hoping to see some of my fellow council members out on the links. I will not be good, but I know other people on this dais will be good. So they're going to have to carry the day. And then just a shout out, I don't know who owns these houses and I don't know if you've seen them, but there's two amazing, there's a lot of amazing houses in Laverne, but there are two really cool houses on Bonita. One is the Barbie Dream House and the other one is Mars Attacks. And I just have to commend our residents for the creativity and just the amount of work and effort, because that's one of the reasons why Bonita is so highly frequented for trick-or-treating, is because the houses are fun. It's really cool. And, I'm an adult and I still think it's awesome. I can only imagine as a kid how much wonderment that is. So thank you to those residents that are bringing a little bit more magic into the city. So as always, be kind and have a good week.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Lau. Thank you, council. I want to also thank the council, but I also want to thank the acting chief Gonzalez and also our attorneys and also our city manager for the vote on the zero bail for the lawsuit. I know that it's probably a sensitive subject with most, but we need to stop it. And we need to stop it now. If we don't stop it, we're just going to have more and more issues. So, Taste of Laverne, October 18th. Is that on there? Yeah, no, it's not. No. Yeah. Mr. Perry. Oops. Well, we're trying. We're doing good. But Taste of Laverne's October 18th. That'll be over at the hangar. I think tickets are $50. Is it $50? 50 or 50 per person?
October 18th, what time?
That starts at 5, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I also want to thank Acting Chief Gonzalez for Coffee with a Cop. That was cool. I really did enjoy that. The residents enjoyed it. I think obviously maybe we need to get it out a little sooner, but there was a good crowd that came, but there would be more if we had more of the, notifying it. But a great turnout, and I really appreciate that. It just makes, as we stated, Mr. Henley stated, makes our community even more special. The fact that we're all approachable in this community. I don't care who you are, police officers, public works, city management, fire, it doesn't matter. We're all approachable, and that's very important for our community. To kind of tail back on what Councilmember Johnson was talking about, and also Councilmember Cash, the supervisors voted on a new deputy chief for the probation department, approved a new deputy chief. They're working out the salary right now, the chief. And then obviously he'll be putting people in his in place of the other people. And this is something that we really need in Los Angeles County, is someone with a new direction, because our probation department needs the help. There's also discussion on the new, as he stated, regarding the future of Affabah Page. It looks more favorable for us than what it was looking at before, making that an intake facility. Now it looks like they're going to stick with their original plan, which is possibly to temporary shut down Page and then have Affabah, the normal intake for non-SYTF youth. But that's very good news for us. But ultimately, we would love to see that facility closed completely and make it into a fire camp, or make it into a learning center, something that would suit the needs of our community much better. But this is good news. So we keep tracking that. I know that Ms. Beauchamp's tracking it, but with that, I also want to thank Christy Lopez. Council member Crosby and myself were on that committee for the investment policies. Ever since I got on this council in 2015, I said, what are we doing with this money? Why are we keeping this money in accounts that make 0%? Things have changed now, obviously, with treasuries and all the way that the financial system's going. So hopefully we'll be recouping some money on top of what we're investing in this new strategy that Ms. Lopez, Director Lopez, is involved with. So we're very happy about that. So kudos to her for bringing it to us, and the people that we're using for that, and also our city manager Domer, who realized that this is a big issue. So everything comes through him down through everyone in the staff. So with that, thank you all for being here. We got a lot of stuff in October. Obviously, we didn't see Taste of Laverne. What's that? Your birthday's not on there either. Gosh, we're missing everything.
Mr. Mayor, I looked it up. It's $45.
45.
As
Well,
long as the tickets are purchased prior to October 16th.
If you're purchased
After that, it's $60.
$60. That's a fun event. You guys need to go. It's great. It's a great time. Great restaurants. So with that, now a recess to closed session. We have no, we have a closed session, do we not? Recess to closed session for conference with legal negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Negotiator, city manager, assistant city manager, and city attorney. Employee organizations, Laverne City Employees Association, and the Laverne Police Officers Association. Our next regular meeting of Laverne City Council is scheduled for Monday, October 16th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. As a reminder, vacancies on city boards, commissions, and committees, and upcoming events and meetings are posted on the last page of the city council agenda. 2 of these application periods close at the end of this week. So if you're interested, please get your application in for these positions. That would be the IFD, and that would also be on the Active Transportation Committee. So, measure
LV.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry. There's been a lot of vacancies. Measure LV. Sorry. We have an opening in Measure LV, not the Active Transportation Committee.
Do we expect a report out from
Yes.
closed session?
No, reporting out. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Recess at 8:39 p.m.